استرد المظالم حتى الليل ساموا رسول الصوارم كي تسترد.
Fuck, sorry, hold on. I'm looking at memes on my Twitter. Hold on, I'm coming. 1 sec. Hello, DGG. Welcome to the wild, wild something. Why do we have to embed your stream on your site? I don't know, bro. You tell me. How are you doing today, guys? He's live. Who's live? Oh. How did this conversation go?
See some sun gorillas in the fucking chat. The rights of man.
Force of nature. The only thing that let me just close. Okay. Now, I expect an equal level of big brain engagement from this one right here. Can one of you two gentlemen please remind me what the fuck it is we're talking about today?
We're talking about political theory.
Okay.
His political theory in particular. So,
oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. We have a home team advantage then. Okay. Here are the rules. The rules are that I'm going to try my best to not be partial. I am like the wind. I blow over the whole countryside. Okay. I'm an undifferentiated force of nature. The only thing that I care about is that people respond to the arguments that the other side made, and that everyone gets a fair chance to talk. So, while it may make me seem as...
Is this actually boring as fuck? Jesus, oh my god. Sorry.
Yeah, it was pretty fucked up.
I mean, I'm sorry. Engenderment has been around for thousands of years. Like, just because we...
Though I'm being partial, if people start screeching directly into the microphone to blow out everyone else's eardrums, that would be an example of not letting other people talk. I believe in both of you. I have nothing but faith in you. This is obviously Haz's topic to start. I'd say let's go with 5-minute openers, starting with
I think
Haz.
we were kind of iffy on the time. Can we like say 10 minutes caps, and then if we go under, we go under?
10 minutes. All right. Let me get my.
Oz, are you cool with that? Is that
Yeah.
Guest's clock. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Need to do something real quick. Just preventing my OBS from self-destructing, as it has been wont to do lately. There you go.
Favorite
Ryan.
sword, Oz?
I like the swords.
I like the swords.
Oh
Need
shit.
a place for my swords.
Okay. There we go. Very nice. All right. Starting with the one, the only, infra, open quotes, Oz, close quotes, red. 10 minutes to talk about his political theory, followed, of course, by President Sunday. Then we will do our back and forths, give everyone a fair chance to talk. And the timer starts now.
Modern politics is beset by the same fundamental contradiction, the same asymmetry defining modernity as a whole. Thinkers like Bruno Latour once framed this paradoxical contradiction as between a process of purification, establishing some ontological zone, such as man, reason, cogito, civilized people, etc., and opposing it to its other, such as nature, the animal kingdom, outsiders, etc., as well as the process of translation, where the actual effect of applying this pure form to actual reality leads to hybrids between the two, proving modernity's inability to fully conquer its own premises. Political modernity, understood in this same vein of purification, establishing the universal rights of man, privileging the abstract and generalized concept of man as the supreme political subject, without any essential regard for the particular details of personality, background, estate, religion, or even race, gender, and wealth. Likewise, political modernity has given rise to various hybrids of its own, strange combinations of this universal subject with its opposed particularity, in the form of different classes, separatist ethnic and religious identities, interest groups, racial animosities, and the form of identity politics itself today. I merely propose, drawing from the ideas of Slavoj Žižek's ontology, that an even more fundamental political contradiction pre-exists that between universality and particularity, state and civil society, human and nature, etc., which is internal to the abstract form of political modernity itself. Both the political left and right take what Latour calls the rupture in time of political modernity for granted. The political left is revolutionary wing of modernity, representing the abstract form of change. The right is its conservative wing, attempting to derive a definite political logic out of this modern process of purification, situating people in their rightful place with respect to objects in the case of private property, and with respect to other persons in the case of various hierarchies. So modernity implies a paradox or internal contradiction that pre-exists and arguably engenders the division into left and right. On the one hand, it implies a revolutionary change. On the other,
I just... oh no. I guess I could just talk about whatever because I don't give a fuck. I realize a little bit more why Max and Lav thought that their thing was going to end my career. I didn't know this, but one of the girls that had been fucking with him just DM'd me tonight. She's like, oh, hey, just so you know, I told Max that like everything was fake, by the way. And I was like, you just did that now? So I think he did have one story in there that probably made me look really bad, but he didn't know. I thought he knew already that all of those were fake, but one of the fake ones was still, I guess, like holding on. And now he's like saying he's gonna like consult a journalist to see if he can publish what she said, even if she doesn't consent to it. What did she tell him? I think she told him something like how I told her like I'll only promote your stream if you like trade me nude or something like that. It was some wild fucking story. Jesus Christ. I'm trying to think of how many girls have told him bullshit and if everybody's like come clean yet. That's got to be such a weird position for him to be in. But I guess, I mean, he was holding out and ready to publish. That must mean that he was holding out and ready to publish his story all the way to the end with zero corroborating evidence whatsoever, because he asked her for screenshots and stuff and she never provided anything to corroborate anything that she said. I guess he was ready to go ahead and publish it anyway. Name her? No, fuck no. He might in his article, I guess, because now he's like threatening her that he's going to include false, false stories to throw him off the trail. And he's like, aren't you worried it's going to damage your professional career? I'm like, oh my god. Jesus.
it also implies a new order and form of preserving itself. In the aftermath of the French Revolution, various thinkers attempted to resolve that contradiction in some kind of end of history, such as Hegel, Kojève, and most famously Fukuyama.
Oh my god.
But none of them were able to anticipate our current multipolar world. My basic argument is that the contradiction has to do with the political subject of politics.
Fuck me. What is
We've
this?
now labeled something doesn't mean that it didn't exist before. This is like being like, math didn't exist until humans made it up. And it's like, that's not really true. If you have two things and you had two more things, now you have four things. Just because we didn't name them before didn't mean that this component of existence didn't exist before.
Yeah, there are historical recordings of people who are of a sex acting of the other sex, while there are societies who are very, very sex segregated and into male and female. This has been around for thousands upon thousands of years. It's not going to change, and yeah, it's just a mental variation. That's it.
Though. I think the contention is that we have a very modern approach to this issue, which is to encourage this kind of transition, and then to go a step further and to say people who are natal male, who are undergoing these procedures and these hormones, are now jumping category, and they're now going to be in the woman category. If you look at any historical culture, that's never been the case. And so we can look at all of these ancient cultures where you had gender non-conforming people, and oftentimes, sometimes they were in spiritual positions, sometimes they were well respected, sometimes they adopted certain roles of women within the culture. But what we find is that all across the world, these people who are gender non-conforming, they get a third sex category. And they're not actually seen as within the woman category. So I do think that we have a very unique situation that's going on here. And personally, I suspect that it is because we've had such rapid advancement in regards to transition technology that suddenly people who are gender non-conforming can now get a lot closer to the opposite sex in a way that does activate people's brains in the way that Brianna's talking about to say, yes, this is a woman. And if I'm going to extend an olive branch to her, I would say that a lot of people feel that way about trans women. That's why we're having this discussion. But I don't think that like a colloquial definition of like people know it when they see it because they can tell what people are going for is good enough, just for the reason that there is still massive disagreement and it doesn't cover all the cases, all the edge cases.
Okay, so actually, I if I can comment on the kind of like natal male thing. So the way that I've kind of been understanding sex recently is that there are sort of testosteronized characteristics and there are estrogenized characteristics. We recognize the estrogenized characteristics as female. We recognize testosteronized characteristics as male. There is a primary sex characteristic which can come out as male because of a testosterone wash, but the vagina.
Oh god, the hormone wash. Is this a wash
viewer?
viewer?
There's an estrogen wash, as far as I understand, unless I'm completely wrong on that. And it seems as though to measure people by female or male at birth seems.
I'm just trying to understand when you're saying estrogen wash. Are you talking about like gonadic dropping and how like vagina? Okay, so I'm just trying to.
Yes.
They're just using a term they heard Vosh use that I've never seen in any paper
I think
ever.
Everyone would just say it's feminine, right? And penises are masculine by nature, right? Even though you're right, vaginas don't require necessarily like an estrogen wash. To get the opposite of a vagina, you do need this testosterone thing to be baked in for the gonads to drop into penis. And a penis.
You don't recognize synth? Is that actually synth? Oh,
Okay, so
I feel like they've changed a lot.
Like challenge, right? I would challenge this by saying there's a very clear difference between a testosteronized penis and an estrogenized penis, and a testosteronized vagina and estrogenized vagina. They quite literally smell different, and testosterone creates a specific smell that is specific to testosterone. Estrogen creates a specific smell which is specific to estrogen. These things seem to resemble each other more and more based on the hormones which are within it. So are these things really male or female in their inherency?
So if I give if I start with like the community creature that's just like amorphous and like gray everywhere or whatever, you guys know that mascot that I'm talking about, and say I inject that being full of estrogen, what are they going to look like? Say I have an amorphous blob pops out and I inject it full of estrogen. What's going to happen to this? It'll smell like estrogen.
Assuming it has like human DNA, it would grow breasts and it would like have estrogenized skin. It would have all of the secondary sex characteristics that estrogen brings. It would have all of these characteristics that we identify as female.
Sure, and assume also during prenatal it didn't get exposed to high levels of testosterone, which gender would it develop most likely?
A vagina.
Right. So like once that was born, what sex would we identify that individual, that lump of cells it has?
Right. Okay, so I don't like this like identification of birth. I don't think that it's useful. I think that you can have a vagina and it does not.
I mean, she was clearly asking the sex of the thing.
Yeah, like biologically, it's useful,
okay.
right? This is useful, right? We need to be able to, at birth, be able to identify whether something is one sex or another, because that's going to list a whole host of experiences biologically that matter. So what sex would we assign it?
Okay, so I think that this is more in depth than just looking at the genital, like outside externality.
I injected all of estrogen.
Well, okay, so all it has is estrogen, so 100% would never have testes that were descended or undescended. It would be assigned female at birth.
Cool. Yes.
Yeah.
That took a long time to answer.
I'm sorry, my brain did not work. I had to get all of the details before I could do the fucking stupid calculus, okay?
No, I get it.
So I agree with you that like when it comes to all these details, I think all these details matter. I'm not actually being dismissive of being like, oh my gosh, it takes so much. I'm not doing the conservative cringe thing where like, that's a lot of words to describe me. I think the nuance is there. It's just fundamentally when we come down to it, when we put our finger on what we call that, we as a society assign that term, right, female, and it probably predicts all of these collections of things together, predict whether something's going to be assigned female at birth, like 99% of the time. And there are things that fall outside of that, but like I don't know if rejecting sex is useful. Like I don't.
Okay, so I don't reject sex in its entirety. I reject like kind of the characterization that we give it now. We don't base sex on a lot of complex characteristics. We kind of just look at genital externalities, and then people might have fucked up puberties like 12 years later. And maybe it's 1% of the population, but we didn't identify that at birth, and now they have fucked up puberties, and we had no way to account for that. We have the medical equipment to identify these things. We just don't. And people could be treated for these things very early in their life and could be informed of these things very early in their life, but we don't do it.
Being intersex,
and this is like a huge problem.
Yeah, being identified as intersex earlier would always be better. But the reason that we don't do it is because the heuristic is correct like 99% of the time, right? The heuristic that when they're born with a vagina that they're probably female is correct 99% of the time. Which is why we don't implement all of this extra cost, because 99% of the time, all this cost that you're amounting to just like test its gametes and its genes and whether testes are there and all these sorts of things is so ridiculous when the accuracy of the heuristic alone is so good.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna say something that may upset trans Twitter. Taffy may like this. You know, I find the discussion that we get. There are a lot of trans activists on Twitter that seem really, really focused on like abolishing the idea of gender, or like I think many of them, to what you're saying, Kyla, they would really, really, really want to abolish that. And we can't assume anyone is a gender until later in life, and just let them express themselves. And I just have to say, like, I grew up in a red state, and I think y'all don't know how insane that sounds to most of the country. And I think if you're trying to get cis people on board with a functional framework for trans dignity and trans access to healthcare, we got to back up and get back to basics. Like, I know trans Twitter is having like a graduate master's thesis on gender, but the rest of America is like stuck on like, how can a woman have a penis? So I think we've got to get a lot more back to basics as far as healthcare. And I think a lot of the messages that the trans community insists are true. I can just tell you, it's completely unsellable to vast parts of the country. I think it would be much smarter if we focus more on the freedom argument and said, like, look, this is a private decision. Someone should have the ability to do what they want with their bodies. As far as children, this is a medical privacy issue between parents and children and doctors to make the best decisions for themselves. They should have the freedom to do this without the government getting involved. I just think we need to resort to better messaging here, because I think the trans community overall is on course oblivion with the way we're presenting the arguments to the public.
Yeah, we're making like 1,000 neo-pronoun tweets, and like we're losing healthcare in fucking states. We're like losing our healthcare. There are people fucking fleeing states, like fleeing states and going to different states because we're losing our healthcare. And we're like posting about fucking xenogenders and like neo-pronouns and how important it is that you don't misgender someone with. God, it fucking hurts.
But that logic train you're on doesn't line up with what Brianna's saying.
Yeah, it does completely.
Yeah, it's completely.
What are you talking about? You just misunderstood it.
No, if you're wanting private individuals to be able to dictate their own things, and we need to take government out of that, that includes schools, that includes healthcare, that includes a lot of other things. No, education.
Ignore
me on this side, but
shove my mentality into this other aspect. You can't have it both ways.
I mean, I think the reason why we're so concerned about defining gender is, I think that for a lot of people, defining trans women under the category of women is how they justify like trans women's right to do certain things, which I think is probably like not the way to go. I also tend to lean on the side of freedom. I'm not going to sit here and praise the Nazis for whatever they did, because I think that adults should have the right to do with their body what they will. And I think that I would focus on that. Like, whatever definition of women that we land on, I think that like people should be able to put things in their body as long as they're not harming society in some meaningful way as a result of that. I don't think that trans people are. I don't think adults are doing this. Now, I think it's a very different question when we get to kids, and suddenly we have medical institutions that are prescribing these people who, we don't expect to have the full ability to understand and consent. And these people, we rely on medical institutions to take on some of that responsibility. So I think that's a bit of a different moral question there. But I also think that, I just don't think that like how we define women is, at the end of the day, important. I think that like we can find a definition that is going to work for whatever conversation we're in.
Hey, Stephen, big fan of what you do. I'd like to get a chance to talk to you about police misconduct and accountability when you get a chance, preferably when you aren't ranking up on the
I hear what you're saying, and I mean this respectfully, because I don't want to spend this whole panel arguing with you. I think when I'm talking about we need to get back to basics, I hear what you're saying about we need to come to a better definition here. I may not agree with it, I understand it, but I'm thinking through the practical reality of what you're talking about, and it involves like us as a country and as a world coming to some magical point of view where we all have a discussion and have a nuanced discussion and an understanding about trans identity that includes all these edge cases. And it's a fantasy. Like when I'm talking about getting back to basics, I'm talking about access to healthcare for adults. That's under attack right now. And I think rather than getting into these esoteric academic arguments, I think, we need to really be thinking about like Emily Bazelon had a fantastic piece in the New York Times talking about the battle for trans healthcare for children. I think we need to get away from these academic arguments and get to some really basic political fundamentals.
Now, in Turk, I'll let you go because I see your hand raised up, but part of the reason why, because what I'm kind of seeing is you guys are having the academic conversation, all that kind of stuff, but part of the reason why I wanted people to define their terms is so we can extrapolate maybe out to policy or perspectives or whatever, especially in the second conversation where we're talking about what should adults be able to do versus what teenagers should be able to do versus what's the age for intervention, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where, for me, if RJ has a very specific definition, I want him to argue that definition. If you guys have a very specific definition, I want you to argue your definition. But we can extrapolate and fight, but that's part of the reason why I was pushing for definitions in the first topic. But Turk, you had your hand raised, top dodge, I saw you going, so Turk, top dodge, back open.
Yeah, so I want to go back to Brianna because maybe I misunderstood what you were saying previously about the going back to basics. We need to have, a personal level understanding of what you're doing, and it needs to be private. There was some sort of private something in your conversation. Maybe you can clear it up for me. But when it comes, let's say we get public healthcare, public option, government provided healthcare. Does a trans individual get to have that sort of healthcare lumped into it when the majority of Americans don't support that type of service going into the public version of healthcare?
Do you have like any sort of source for like the majority of Americans not supporting that?
I don't know how you're supposed to beat these units. I have no fucking idea. It's so stupid.
And then that's why I'm like, I'm trying to be good faith. You know,
Sure, I hear what you're
asking for
saying.
clarity, and it's like I'm posing the question because as most Americans, you know,
don't know.
we probably don't agree with providing those types of treatments to that type of a community. Is that something that we would need a special edge case? What sort of policy quirk would we need there to cover that?
I think there's a
thanks for the
long-standing
$100
tradition in
dono.
medicine
Email me, I
that
guess,
the
to
decisions
chat.
you make between your doctor, that's really up to you. It's really hard for me to think of any healthcare instance where getting the public to take a poll on it would. I'm going to finish what I'm saying. I'm going to finish what I'm saying.
No, it isn't.
I'm going to finish what I'm saying. It's hard for me to think of any instance where having the public take a poll to decide what an outcome would be for healthcare would lead to a better result. I think you're conflating that with the second part of the problem, which is access to the public commons. Public schools. This is a public place. Public restrooms, the public square, being out in public. That's kind of a different question.
My question was pretty specific towards medicine in this instance.
Yeah, I don't think the public should get a vote in what you decide with your doctor. No.
Okay, well, unfortunately, that's not the way the medical system works because your insurance provider gets to dictate what treatments are allowed, what's in network, what's out of network, and
insurance companies are private. What?
If we have a public option, right, then we have to go and negotiate with the public option what is
Are you talking
provided,
about like
what's not
Canadian
provided.
healthcare? Are you talking about like Canadian healthcare?
No, I'm not Canadian. Because Canada sucks. All right, I'm talking about a United States, this forthcoming public option.
Turk, there's a very good framework we can talk about this in, and that's the bans that people are suggesting for for childhood transition. That is the public weighing in on this complex medical issue in a way that is medicine by democracy. And I think that if your position is that the government should have insight into that, I don't know what your position is.
Well, I think representatives get to voice my.
You expect me to have self-respect.
To go and say,
right.
So.
The majority of people disagree with this. Do you think that should change how medicine is run if the majority of people disagree?
I believe if we were going to have a public option that Americans pay through tax dollars, yes, my tax dollars should be represented by somebody that has similar values as I do.
What about the extent to which tax dollars go to things like Medicaid or to funding hospitals or?
Yeah, I mean that's how it currently works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
I think, generally speaking, I was talking to Kyla about this. We've actually been talking all week, and I'm hoping at some point we can get into the studies that we both spent so much time reading today. But, there's a real battle over healthcare issues here, and the science is really pointing one way, right? So if I go to, I can't go get plastic surgery and have my Blue Cross Blue Shield in Massachusetts pay for it because that is an elective surgery. I think there's a growing consensus among healthcare providers and doctors and experts, even though these studies are not as good as they need to be, there is a growing consensus that this is life-saving, important healthcare, and I think because of that, it's really no different than diabetes or menopause or something of that sort. It's just healthcare.
Yeah, I'm getting minor FFS from Blue Cross Blue Shield myself. I don't know. These are actually medically necessary. When I look in the mirror and I want to not have fun thoughts about myself, and happens every single day. Yeah, sure, because I can recognize where testosterone is
necessary for your particular.
No, I absolutely did not. No. I did not make it medically necessary. The person who fucking forced me through fucking male puberty told me there was absolutely no other option. That was the person who made it medically necessary. Because now whenever I look in the mirror, I see all those years of testosteronization. I see that dehumanization that I went through for 7 fucking years. That's what I see. That's why it's medically necessary. And it's trauma. Yes, no, there isn't.
Turk, can I ask you a question? I'm curious, how do you feel about private insurance companies covering things like psychotherapy and stuff like that, for treating PTSD or depression?
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, so what if we had a psychotherapy, for example, that was able to reduce suicide rates over 60% in a specific population with a specific issue?
I think psychotherapy, because I know where you're trying to go with this particular instance is going, is a good thing, and I think we should try to not go through these other types of medical options that are not actually good. I think there's. I'll walk that back a little bit. It could be that in instance, what you're choosing to do is the right choice of action for you. I think there should be a more heavier emphasis towards the psychiatric or mental aspect of healthcare rather than going towards straight to this other option.
Sure.
Okay,
and
so can I wait?
Go for it.
Can I suggest something? So what if we were just allowed to have people who are like this? Because if this was given as an option to me, I would have absolutely taken it. If I was allowed to just have just enough of a puberty to store my sperm cells, which I did before I transitioned, and then just be able to live out the rest of my life on puberty blockers, and then whenever I decide that I don't want that, or do want hormones, then be able to live out that life. I wouldn't have any of these problems. You wouldn't have, these insurance companies wouldn't have to pay for my FFS. I wouldn't have to get any of the surgeries, any of the corrective surgeries at all, and I would still have my reproductive rights. I would still have my reproduction.
Actually, I think this is an okay time to transition, pun not
Good one.
intended, because we're hitting 9:50, so I figured we might as well open it up for topic 2. So
Did you just say he hit a
the question for topic
950?
2
Is that possible?
At what age, if any, is it appropriate to transition? So what my spirit, just to share my spirit for this topic, is I figured that for right-wingers who are Christian nationalists like RJ, he's going to say probably never. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but I'm assuming that. Whereas moderate rightoids might say, well, if you're 18 or older, have fun, you do you, whatever floats your goat. And then I feel like the real contention, because nobody talks about trans men, let's be real.
True! We've actually, I think I've said the only thing about trans men tangentially.
So trans men can
Great
take
points, guys.
testosterone and start lifting at the gym and growing mustaches, and nobody really gives a shit, and they can do whatever the fuck they want. Nobody really gives a shit about trans men. And if they competed in men's sports and they presented male, nobody would really give a shit. Whereas with trans women, that seems to be the main fight. And the main fight seems to be with teenagers, puberty blockers. What's the appropriate time to transition?
The content drive is upon us. We must stay resolute, my brothers. For the r/place wars are coming. We are DGG. We are Dartro.
So
If you think you're in a content drought, you're fucking retarded right now.
And flavoring put in there. I'm gonna do reverse order so we can do intro, so at least maybe we can get some meat to sink our teeth into before spurging out in 10 different directions. So we'll do reverse order. Turk. Please kick it off.
Yeah, so I like Connor saying that I'm a moderate Republican or conservative because I do believe at the age of 18, I think individuals should be able to do what they would like to do. And I also agree that when it comes to the younger ages, it becomes a much more delicate topic. I am on the opinion that, and I wish all parents were as caring and, aren't as, no offense, Synth, but your situation is probably one of the things I'd like to talk with you more about to understand more. But in general, it's my intro though. In general, I would much more prefer a more psychiatric approach towards treating it, and it's unfortunate because it also counteracts into the testosterone, puberty phase, and all that stuff. So it's like, I get that part. It's just, I really don't think that the majority of people that are going through these types of phases, they don't need to go all the way through with those types of medicines. So that's my position.
Thank you kindly. Taftosh?
Yeah, so trans men are actually incredibly relevant, specifically for this discussion, because of the massive changes in demographics within clinics regarding who is actually seeking this gender transition. So we've seen in a lot of clinics, they report their data, and they've seen significant upticks in natal females seeking out testosterone. There's a few studies on this. There's one that looks at like various US states, there's one that looks at California, and we see this pretty much across the board. And that is concerning because we are not exactly sure what is causing that. And I think that there is potential risk for issues of social contagion or issues where people are pursuing transition for reasons that are different than previous cohorts we have more studies on. But the thing is, we don't have a lot of good data for anything. Of this. True. Frankly, we don't have a lot of good data for adults who are transitioning. And for adolescents, it's even weaker. I've gone over a lot of these studies with Erudite, and it's study after study with like massive issues in methodology, with confounding variables, where the effect size is really small, or it's not a representative sample, etc., and etc. So it's really hard to tell what exactly is going on here. And in light of that, I do think it makes sense to try to restrict adolescents who are seeking transition. And the way that I would do that personally, if I could wave a magic wand, is require people interested in this to sign up for studies that are going to track them, and they're going to make sure that they are randomized in whether or not they're getting HRT or if they're getting psychotherapy, that is going to track all of these variables, because I think we need that data. And in light of the fact that we don't have a lot of evidence for this being an essential medical option, I think that that is probably appropriate. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. And then Sen?
So I think most of the problem with the way that children can consent to these drugs is probably just because of uneducation. We very, very massively uneducate, or we do not choose not to educate children on their own biology, or children on how human anatomy works and how hormones, or specifically any sort of endocrinology works. This is a massive problem because we get to puberty and then we have some people, maybe they're only 1%, but they start doing horrific things to themselves. I actually kind of agreed with Turk. I don't think people should be really easily accessed to hormones. I think that it should be like a very long time interest. That it should be like something that they have wanted for a very long time. That they should show interest in, and puberty blockers should definitely be on for quite a while before they're allowed these things, because they do permanently change your body, whether it is estrogen or testosterone. That's undeniable. The problem is that you can't really unfuck your body at that point if it's fucked to you. And that's where all of the dysphoria comes from. So better education is a very, very, very important thing if we want to avoid this.
Yeah, I think what we're discussing here is in large part a minority issue that has been blown up into become one of the biggest culture-defining issues of our time due to, as Taj was saying, influence like social media, TikTok, etc., so on and so forth. And to speak more directly on the topic, whether I think a surgery should be allowed for anyone, I would say no, not at any age. And the issue is because with a complication rate as high as 67% in some cases, not all, I think it's rather barbaric to say, yeah, you can go ahead with that practice.
All right, Erudite, please.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to echo some of Taft's statements about the studies, except I'm going to differ on the direction that we go with it. I would say the adult studies are a little bit more clear to me. I think we have a lot more robust data about HRT in adult populations.
More robust, yeah.
The frustration I have, that's why I label my stream the empirical black hole, is when it comes to trans topics. I've spent the last 2 days reading literature. I've read probably at this point 30 plus studies, and my pile of garbage research, biased on both sides, was just ever growing. The methodology sucks. It's just terrible. They just do stupid shit, like they just use measures that don't make sense to use constantly. They lump groups together that probably shouldn't be lumped together, because even the trans community would agree that they're different communities. It's incredibly frustrating. And so my concern is making policy in either direction, when like a lack of data doesn't mean lack of evidence, right? Not having data on specifically youth doesn't negate the fact that, for example, most of the adult data on like transitioning is good. It reduces suicidality by a massive margin. Satisfactory. Detransitioning is exceptionally rare, And so it's reasonable to presume from the adult data that this would be somewhat true for youth as well. But I would agree it should be tested more. What I would say is, despite the methodological errors in a lot of these studies, it still is suggestive of a direction, and that direction is suggesting that HRT therapy for youth is beneficial. What I will bite on is the process by which we determine which youths are actually adequate candidates for HRT probably need to be cleaned up a little bit and a little bit less politicized as far as making the gate too wide open. Because there'd be nothing worse than giving a 16-year-old girl a mastectomy who at 18 decides I was a girl the whole time, right? That would be awful. That's just a tragedy, and we should probably try to avoid that. But at the same time, you don't want to keep somebody who does need to transition, and by the time they turn 18, they've killed themselves because they are so depressed and so distressed over their gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brianna, and then Open.
So I want to start by saying, Taff, you have said something in 3 separate videos that I've seen, and you said it again today, that, in your opinion, we don't have good data for adults as far as the efficacy of HRT. I engaged with that in good faith in research for this panel. I spent a lot of time trying to find that. You'd mentioned a survey of all the data out there. I can find no evidence for that whatsoever. So if you have that, I would really appreciate you sharing that with me after the panel, because everything I've seen shows, and I can give you the exact studies here, improved mental health, lower suicidality, a feeling of contentment with your body and your gender presentation. Like, there are a lot of really, really good things that I've found. Additionally, RJ, you just made a statement there. You said 67% of trans people have complications or something to that effect, or the surgery doesn't go well. I'm going to need to see some evidence on that. Then I misunderstood. Would you mind clarifying for me quickly?
I said sometimes as high as 67%.
What
That's a meaningless statement.
What specifically, and where did you get that from?
Can we engage that in the open?
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm not. That's perfectly fine.
I don't have
I'm not sold on that.
Well, actually, Brianna, if you need to finish your intro, finish.
I do need
to finish. I made it up. I fucking love it.
Lock it down. Let Brianna finish, and then
I'm going to finish what I'm saying. So I think that when it comes to children getting this health care, something I saw in all of the data is it's very clear this is extremely, extremely, extremely understudied. The demand for this has gone very, very high, but the studies we have for this, as Kyla said, they tend to be garbage. And we don't have a lot of certainty here. Now, we do know the stakes are very, very, very high when children don't get access to gender-affirming care. But there are a lot of barriers there. Something that really shocked me that I've never thought about is, so let's say you're a trans kid and you want to go on puberty blockers. I was really surprised to find out the insurance will not pay for that, and that costs between $1,200 and $2,000 a month. I don't know about y'all, but I would have a lot of trouble finding $2,000 extra in my budget a month for puberty blockers for my child, in addition to all the other costs that go along with having a trans child. So I think that, this was talked about in the New York Times piece, Emily Bazelon's fantastic piece, The Battle Over Gender Care in the United States, where she talks about how the providers feel caught on both sides of this equation, because trans activists are going after them and the right wing has politicized this issue like never before. I really think we need to take a step back. I think we need to depoliticize this issue and let it be between parents, patients, and doctors.
All right, open.
Okay, so Brianna, you asked for where I'm getting this. I'm specifically referencing the Journal of Endocrine Society. They did a systematic review in 2021. And I'll read you like 4-ish sentences.
I wonder why Connor is moderating these
quality of
debates instead of
We
participating.
conclude that hormone
I guess it's nice to bring back panels. I don't think Connor's a bad moderator, but I think he's a really good panelist. It sucks that he's like just doing like moderating, I guess. Could you have been on this panel? I don't know. I don't know if I got invited or not. I've gotten invited to a lot of like random panels, but like some of the topics like just don't interest me as much. Like I don't know if I want to do another like 3-hour discussion on like trans stuff. Or like I think somebody invited me to a panel like doing a national divorce, and I'm like,
therapy may improve quality of life, so good. The strength of the evidence for this conclusion is low due to concerns about bias in study designs, imprecision in measurement, small sample sizes, confounding factors with other variables. Depression. The strength of evidence for this conclusion that depression may help, the HRT may help depression, is low due to concerns about study designs, small sample sizes, and confounding variables. In regards to anxiety, the strength of evidence for this conclusion is low due to concerns about study design, small sample sizes, and confounding variables. Death by suicide, we cannot draw any conclusions on the basis of a single study. They basically limited it to the best studies they could find. And of this one, they said we cannot draw any conclusions. So that's kind of...
it's more fun to talk about these subjects with people who don't usually do political content. Maybe.
Right,
I don't
where
know.
if
Did
we
you
look at a lot
happen...
of these- if we look at a lot of these studies, there's big issues. And so I'm not saying there's not a lot of studies. There are a lot of studies, and I think that they tend to point in a certain direction. Particularly with adults, there's more studies, there's more robust data. But ultimately, I land on the side that the evidence is not very strong, and the reason for that is all of these issues that are cited in this one, and also in the limitations pages of most studies at the end of them.
Okay. I hear what you're saying there. I just want to point out there was a major piece in the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post that came out citing a very large study. Kylie, you read
Can you
this.
cite it?
Did you
'Cause I
find
might
this
have read it.
compelling? It was a study basically showing the huge efficacy of this. You're a researcher. I'm a software engineer. Do you have any thoughts on this? In your professional opinion, is there evidence, basically?
Which study is
So,
it?
I'm not. I have 30
Okay,
years
well,
of
Can you
reference
link
to
it,
the Wall
Brianna?
Street or the
Yeah,
Because I
one
would
second.
probably know the study.
I think it's the UK study. I am pretty sure it's the 2015 UK study in the WAPO.
No,
specifically.
this was it was the largest study ever conducted.
Is
and
it
was
like
news in
30,000 people or something?
I will find that for you.
Or 885.
It's-
Basically, what I'd say is for TAF's study, systematic reviews are good. The issue is that what they're weighting mostly is methodological errors. So when they're saying low, what they're really saying is methodologically weak. It's not a meta-analysis.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying that
Right.
the evidence is like has these different issues.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
when I talk about like strength, I'm using strength in a very specific way, which
Yes.
is to reference these methodological issues.
So what my response would be is, I suspect if you did a meta-analysis on the studies that we have, you're right, a direction would emerge. And the direction that would be suggestive is that basically you would find that these treatments are benefiting trans people. I
Yeah.
suspect that that HRT alone is insufficient because you're talking about a population that also has a high level of comorbidities and a population with high levels of stigma and stuff like that. And so I imagine, here's one thing that I will grant Turk, for example, we have no fucking clue about psychological treatments and trans people. It's basically not studied. It's researcher calls it the empirical black hole of psychology. It's not researched. We don't really know. There's one study from the 80s that was really, really shit, and that's basically it when it comes to the psychological effects. What we do know though is that people who have gone through gender basically therapy that tries to get you to be your natal sex, we see high levels of distress in these individuals and higher rates of suicidality among these individuals. And so what I would say to UTAF is, I agree that there's this paucity of literature. There's more in the adult population. The problem is it's a lot like trans athletes. It's directional, and it's theoretically directional in what we'd expect it to be. In the case, we're not going to open the trans athletes too much, but in the case of trans athletes, we see that trans men tend to be at a disadvantage. Trans women maintain a bit of an advantage. And in the case of HRT for trans people, it's directionally always been suggestive that it does improve outcomes, right? It doesn't vastly improve. It's not like the panacea that maybe is being sold. However, I suspect with increased methodology, we're going to see better studies of it. Because a lot of the methodology that we point to actually would harm our side as far as the results that we would get in.
I mean, maybe. I just think there needs to be more info. But I will also
Can I add on to that really quickly, because this is relevant to your point, Kyla? Something I'm really worried about with these studies is the trans population has changed so much in the last 15 years. I'm in my 40s, and you'll read these studies and they're lumping in non-binary people with binary trans people that want to transition, right? So I have huge concerns over this methodology as I'm reading it, that we're even studying the same people that are undergoing the exact same phenomena. Now, I do want to fact check something that you said, Taff, just to give you another perspective. Julia Serrano, who, as you know, she's an activist in this space, she's really drawn some very fair questions about the common claim that the number of girls transitioning has skyrocketed as much as people are saying. She's taken a look at the data. She has some qualms with it. Kyla, I don't know if you saw that, to have a professional opinion if that's a valid concern. But something I believe is happening, this is just my own guess, is I think that because we have a more gender expansive set of language for young people, I think that childhood is disproportionately traumatic for girls than it is for boys.
Probably true.
And I think that some of those girls are probably trying to escape structural sexism by asking themselves if they're trans.
That's such a turf.
And to me,
oh my
the
God,
answer
she just
to that
gave.
is
I don't think
we
it's
need
necessarily
to be
wrong, but geez.
investing radically in gender healthcare, gender specialized clinics, so we can make really, really sure
me till that last
anyone that is getting this healthcare really, really meets some very high standards. Just one more fact. I was stunned by this from what I was reading with Kyla ahead of time. Only 71% of people, of these children that are getting basically hormone intervention, meet the clinical criteria for gender dysphoria. Only 71%. That is mind-blowing to me. Maybe there's a reason the clinicians aren't making that 100, but I invite you to go read that standard. It is utterly reasonable. And we need to really, really have a high bar for anyone we're, basically doing a medical intervention on with.
Okay, I saw Turk passionately object at the last 10%, and I think I saw Synth make some faces. So I would like Turk to go.
I'm very emotive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like,
Yeah,
Brianna, I have a daughter myself. She's getting ready to go into this time zone, which is why I resonated with everything you said until you said we need to start treating this with drugs. Sorry if I'm
I didn't say
you,
that. I didn't
but
know.
it's like we definitely need to be investing into these children's mental states and getting them through that.
Yeah,
that's exactly what Brianna
pumping them
said.
full of what y'all are debating in these different analyses that y'all are doing. So
This is so clear, and I'm sorry if I didn't say this skillfully. Let me just make really sure this is understood here.
I understood
I
what
think
you
the
said.
danger
No, I
is
understood-
super high that someone could be misdiagnosed. We have a shortage of experts in this in the country, and we need to continue developing very high standards for intervening with children pharmacologically. And we need to make very, very sure that they have access to experts that can make really sure that this is a good fit for them. Because I think when you really look at it, they're children, they're being rushed through this system because there are not enough providers.
And that's in reference to your 29% of possibly misdiagnosed people or
people not meeting the clinical criteria for gender dysphoria, which is a pretty low bar. I invite you to go read it. It's not crazy.
No, I understood you, and then that's why I provided the other part of the number. So it's like I agree with almost all of the things you said there, but given what both Erudite, Taft, and what you're also kind of saying in your studies, it's like there could be a benefit, but there's also alternatives to this unconsensus view of using these types of medications or procedures to alleviate individual cases.
I just don't think leaving kids without health care is viable. I think if your child had like my good friend Amanda Winley, she did the voice acting for Evangelion, one of the most famous animes of all time. Her kid had leukemia, right? Very low chance of surviving. He did, and she would have done anything to save his life. I just think, like, if you've got a parent, and because the suicidality is so high for these kids, I think you want to be able to give them access to health care, and I think that's a private medical decision between a parent, a doctor, and a child.
I agree. I think that the problem that we're facing, though, here is that transition is being overhyped as this panacea. And I think that presents some issues, especially for trans people who go into it sometimes with very high expectations, and those are not always fulfilled. And so I think that, like, if you tell people over and over that you need to get these medications or you're going to commit suicide, I'm not saying that's what you guys are saying, to be clear, but when the rhetoric gets very extreme like that, I think that makes people more psychologically vulnerable, because
I think
they are no longer viewing themselves as these kind of like robust creatures that really can make it through these things, and there's not really evidence to suggest that like there's going to be this big improvement in suicidality and like actual suicide attempts. So I think
there is actually, but
no,
go
there
ahead.
isn't. There's all the studies have like major issues, and especially on the issue of like actual suicides. That's like usually the weakest part of the data. But yeah, so I think that the messaging is really irresponsible here, and I think that there do need to be certain structures put in place that we get this more studied. And I don't think that that's going to happen unless we have this coordinated response, which I do think probably requires some sort of government intervention here. Sim.
Oh, I was just gonna agree with you. I think that we're selling the wrong transition. Like, we're selling the models. We're selling Blair White and Buck Angel and, like, people who transitioned in puberty. Like, we're selling these things, and the vast majority of trans people are transitioning post-puberty. The vast majority of trans people don't have the privilege of transitioning whenever they're early enough to avoid the other puberty. And so we're selling like this really, really hyped up image of how you can look as a trans person. And for the vast majority of people, I'm like very much on the train that the only reason I look like I do is because I was severely anorexic for all 7 years that I had testosterone in my body, so it simply did not grow. I think that if I like actually ate food, that I would have a lot more testosteronized characteristics.
You'd be fat, so.
No, protein maps onto a lot of things like height.
No, yeah, and yeah. So like there are a lot of things like I was very, very malnourished throughout my puberty, and a lot more people don't have that. A lot more people get a lot more testosteronized aspects, and when we sell the models, when we sell the people who look the best, and those are the people that we see on social media, the same thing happens with young girls. We sell a false image, and we sell a really, really awful self-image to people who can't meet it.
Yeah.
In Sin's defense, she is not that tall as well, I know.
I'm 5'4". I'm average female height.
So, yeah.
I actually have size 5.5 feet. I'm 2 sizes below female average there too. It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Turk or RJ have to pipe in, because I'm guessing you guys probably would differ.
No,
I've circle jerk on
No,
this a lot.
I've won the debate. Y'all have already said that doing this to people under the age of 18 is not backed by science, and that there should be other
Okay, no, that's not what I said. To be
Okay,
clear.
no, you don't get to win by straw people.
No.
That's the way I'm interpreting this.
No, I agreed.
If I don't see you, then I can win. That's not how this works.
I agreed that it should be a lot more strenuous. That like all of our like diagnosing and our actual prescription of these medicines should be much more strenuous, and we should have much more. Like I agree.
And you agreed with me in my intro statement on that.
Nobody here
like
agrees
kind of,
with you
yeah.
that we
It
should
seems
move it to post 18. Nobody here,
it
like,
seems,
okay, I shouldn't say nobody.
Sure.
Many of us don't agree with you on that, Turk.
Well,
I would
okay.
say absolutely somebody under 18 can access things like, first of all, puberty blockers. I'm fine with much younger, and like cross-sex hormones. I'm okay with basically more or less whatever the doctors say, which it sounds like they're weighing in at 16 for cross-sex hormones specifically. And so I'm comfortable with both of those decisions. I'm fine with that, and I understand the necessity for it, particularly for like masculized and hyperfeminized features, because you can't surgery away like a woman developing very wide hips and then trying to transition to be a man. That's going to be you're basically fucked. Yeah.
So 16.
Yes, because here's the thing.
Well,
if we all agree that gender is a performance, hold on. If we agree that gender is a performance, right? To some extent, then we're saying if you want to transition, you need to perform well. And the issue is we can't then say, and we're going to do everything we can to limit your capacity to perform well. So you're just going to be fucked for the rest of your life. You're going to be sad, and no one's going to think you're attractive. Fuck you, trans people. That's unironically the logic right now. Right?
True.
And I don't want that. And at the same time, I agree with like all the criticisms of like this, like the trans community treating it like a panacea and being like, everyone will look like Blair White, or passing doesn't matter at all. And it's just like, both of these things don't make sense together. I agree with the criticism.
Oh my God.
I'm not agreeing with you, Turk.
So the data doesn't necessarily reflect your position, but your position is that because you believe that should be the case.
Summarize for me what you heard me say the data says.
You believe the data says it points in the right direction. If it benefits, it benefits. The question then is becoming, is the benefit measurable? Is the procedures used to collect that data correct for a study, and do we need more data and analysis to get that direction affirmed?
So just to be clear, the important data that's not being brought up here is the data to suggest that specifically transitioning children is harmful to them. And when it comes to that data, there is basically nothing. Almost all of the data is suggesting some benefits to them, right? Even things like cognitive performance on puberty blockers. Yeah, specifically the psychological benefits, right? So there are negatives to being on puberty blockers, like things like body mass index will increase, and it's going to affect like how your bones develop, fucking obviously. Like there are negatives to being on puberty blockers. The issue is that the lack of evidence, right? The fact that there's a gap of evidence here isn't evidence that it's bad to put kids on these medications at all. Like it is in no way evidence of that. In fact, while it's weak, all of the evidence and the theoretical speculation that we have is directionally in what I am talking about. And so like, it's possible a major paradigm shifting study will come out that's done really fucking well. And it turns out that putting kids on puberty blockers is really bad. And like 40% of them regret it. And there's girls with mastectomies running around everywhere that are crying because they just want to make breast milk, right? This is possible. But unless that study comes out, all of the data that will continue to come out is most likely going to be in my direction without some major paradigm shifting study to shift that. That's what I'm saying. You would need extraordinary evidence. No, you wouldn't. No, this is how science works. You would need extraordinary evidence at this point to massively redirect the direction of what we think transitioning is doing for transgender youth and adults.
I mean, Taft, you could probably echo what I'm saying. It sounds like if there was substantive enough data that was collected properly, had a significant enough sample size that goes counter to what Erudite's beliefs are here, that would be a completely feasible outcome.
Well, okay. So I think when we look at, and when I say that the evidence is weak overall, I'm really talking about like all of these methodological concerns, right? So I'm saying there's confounding variables and issues with study design. But I think that when you look at these studies, when you dig into them, you'll find that like there is an improvement in like reported rates of depression. So like people report less depression after going on HRT, or when you compare, you know, kids who have gone on HRT versus kids who want to go on HRT, you'll see like benefits. The question is like, is that a representative sample of people, or is there another issue? For example, the kids on HRT are also getting therapy, and that's explaining it. So I think what Erudite is saying to you is that like the evidence that we have does point to it being beneficial, but there's just issues with that evidence. And so like, if it was like, I don't really expect there to be a study that shows there's like a significant negative effect on mental health. That would be quite surprising to me. But I do think that there are other issues, right? So like there are concerns that if you give a child puberty blockers or you let them socially transition, that will cement a gender identity that is otherwise fluid and might change later. So you might be unnecessarily medicalizing this kid when they could just revert back to identifying as their natal sex in the future. And so we do have like some like napkin math evidence for this. And we also have some like indication that there might be a changing demographic structure to people who are transitioning. And that brings up concerns about social contagion, which hasn't been disproved yet. And so like, is it true? It can be true that transition is not having like a big negative mental health effect on these people. And also that transitioning them is maybe not the best case option for them, either because it puts them down a medical path, which is unnecessary and expensive and leads to all of, you know, potential issues, or because it gets more people to follow down this path, which is also unnecessary for them. And so that is why personally, I think that there could be a little bit more restriction in this area. On Twitter, I said that Republicans were more in line with the science for wanting to ban gender affirming care. I think that that's what the kids call a bad take, because that is not really correct. And I was talking out of my ass there. But what I do think is true is that there should be like a little bit more scrutiny on this. And I do think that's what the evidence suggests.
Can I bring this back to some reality, like some real concrete policy issues here? So one of the things is one of the main people that came up with the guidelines to update the chapter on basically how you treat trans kids. His name is Leibowitz, and this chapter had been the same since 2012, right? It had not been updated. Everybody's just waiting for this update, right? And he is stunned as the chapter comes out, and this is in the New York Times. He's talking about how the right wing had turned this issue into political dynamite and made it basically impossible for him to do these studies. So just talking about real political stuff here.
Yeah.
For you to fund the studies, and I think all of us agree we would like to see more of. The fact is, the massive right-wing hate campaign against trans children is very much, it makes that more complicated. NIH grants, like my husband works in the pharmacological industry, they're very difficult to get. They're very strenuous. If you're looking for like a public university to do this, TAF, much of the, like, I don't agree with you, the research is as bad as your assessment, but I think if you want even better research, that's going to cost more money. It's going to have better survey design.
Come on, guys,
right?
let's go. Give
So
me one more win and I'll have
I
it.
would
One more win.
posit is, again, we're coming back to the fact that politicizing this issue to the degree that we have is leading to worse outcomes for literally everyone here. And everyone.
Wait, what?
Guy, when I saw that contract of like, yes, I'll pay you once a month.
Oh, nice. Talking to Jadian.
Listening to us stream at home, really pay attention here, because everyone here that is talking about providing access for children, we're bringing studies, we're being very measured, we're admitting there are problems, we're talking about flaws in the design, and we have a very adult, measured approach to this. There's another side of this that hasn't done that homework respectfully, and they've drawn some conclusions, and they have not gone and done the work needed to come to those conclusions. I would
Destiny,
argue
what is
that's
our
not probably the
relationship
outcome here.
status?
Speaking of which, RJ has had his arms folded silently for 45 minutes to an hour, and I saw you. I saw you react to the name Leibowitz. I reacted as well, but I saw it. Do you have so for instance, what I'm hearing, just to summarize so far, I've actually heard the progressives or progressive-ish, Synth, Toptage, Erudite, and Brianna hash out a lot of stuff that, oh, you're not a progressive, Toptage, I'm sorry for insulting you. Okay, I see your face.
A horrible insult.
Right. Okay, fascist, Burking, conservative,
Thank you.
centrist,
Schizo-fascist. Get it right.
Schizo-fascist.
Come to my side.
Is Brianna Wood trans or not? Yeah, Brianna's
So,
is trans, right?
basically,
I'm 99%
what
sure
I've
that's the
heard is
case.
Them clarifying a lot of stuff that would have been.
Wait, am I
horrible.
wrong about that?
If this had started as like single sentences or whatever, this would have been people ripping each other to fucking shreds for like probably
Twitter.
hours. So I'm actually, even though this isn't the spiciest content I've ever seen, this actually took a lot of like dynamite and basically took the primers off the dynamite instead of exploding it in the fucking.
Wait, is Brianna Wu not trans? I could have sworn that she was like a big like trans activist, like a trans person activist
Hey,
during the
Destiny,
Game
it's
Brigade
me,
era.
I've been trying to hold back my followers
I'm
since
so
I'm a fan of your
confused. Holy
content,
shit,
but then
okay.
you banned me for posting PooTube. Nah, bro, I ain't putting up with this.
Holy shit, my mind just got blown. Wide the fuck open. I'm not focusing on my game. You're right.
room. So I was impressed with that. That being said, the conservatives Turk is like, he's outlined his like moderate concerns and criticisms, whereas RJ, I'm projecting, but I feel like you're kind of dismissing the whole thing because you're not even considering it in the first place. So I mean, would you at least check in and tell us where you're at?
Yeah, so I am, like Brianna said, a little out of my league in the sense that in the circles that I travel in, like, transgenderism is kind of like a non-issue. It's more for the Daily Wire, Matt Walsh types. And so I do not know all the studies, right? I'm not that well researched as I can see people on the panel are. What I would say, though, is going back to puberty blockers, what we do know on the subject is that they are irreversible and linked to infertility. So I see a lot of talk about the mental health. I don't see a lot of talk about the physical side of things.
So you understand, wait, do you understand that like children have been going on puberty blockers to stave off early puberty for like 50 to 60 years now and it hasn't affected their fertility?
Okay,
you know this, right?
From the studies that I've seen, that's entirely incorrect.
Oh, no,
Wait, this is
RJ.
about children. This is about children transitioning, and we're talking about the effects of infertility
I
on
can't
puberty
see those
blockers.
studies that
What
they
the
don't
fuck?
exist.
Holy fuck!
True.
Source, I made it up. Yes,
Well, I'm sure he
I
didn't
love
make
it.
it up, right? I'm sure he just
So
like
true.
used
Oh,
one
my
study.
bad. Yeah.
And the issue is like RJ. I guess what I would say is when you're wanting to like look into research, you don't give a fuck what I say. So maybe I won't even say this. I'll probably just say this so that everyone else knows the reality of research. What you want to do, like when I prepped for this debate, I thought if I was very anti-trans, what are the papers that I would look for? And I looked for those. And then I said, okay, now if I was really pro-trans, what papers would I look for? And then I looked for those. And then I read all of them together to try to get a more comprehensive understanding of what's going on. That's how you should do
Wow,
your
good
research.
job.
So if you saw one study
Bragging
that
'cause she
said
can read.
puberty blockers
What
are really
the
bad,
fuck? He has
and
no
if the study
expo?
wasn't actually a study, if it was just an article from Breitbart that you read, or more likely just like something Nick Fuentes talked about, and then you citing this, that's really bad research. It looks very silly.
Okay, wait,
Okay,
AJ, do
before-
you
before-
disagree that puberty blockers can cause infertility?
So the relation to puberty blockers and infertility isn't actually super high. We would expect it to be like, to be honest,
But it
my
depends on how
validity-
long you're on them.
Yes, it does. So
Okay.
typically,
Yes.
what I've
Yeah.
seen is that if you stop it before 16, that's when you start to see most of the negative effects like dismissed. Other than the height loss, there's going to be almost always some height loss and sometimes some body fat stuff. But all the body fat studies I've seen are really poorly controlled and didn't control for things like diet during that process. So I'm not
Yes.
sure how much I like care about the
Well,
body
this is
fat
what
stuff.
I've seen too, right? And you can look at a lot of studies for puberty blockers, and a lot of them are focused on like precocious puberty. So these children who are having puberty before they should. And if you put them on a puberty blocker and then take them off when they get to like 12 or something, when they're good to start their puberty, turns out that that's pretty safe, right? But that is not necessarily transferable to trans people who you're going to put on these blockers sometimes for many years instead where they don't have another sex hormone and they're in their adolescence. And then you're expected to continue on spironolactone or Lupron, one of these testosterone blockers, or the inverse for trans masks, for many, many years, for perhaps decades, right? Because that's a totally different story on the infertility side. And I think that is more
I don't know.
risky.
I don't think I've ever seen evidence of people being on puberty blockers for decades. If that's occurring, it's probably exceedingly rare, and I would say that sounds like
I've
even
been
a
on
medical
puberty
institution would be
blockers
opposed.
for like 8 years.
Could I have
right?
won that if I
Because
would've-
my body will produce testosterone beyond like the normal female range if I'm not blocking it. Although,
this is really
to be
personal.
clear,
Are
they're
these-
not
wait,
they're not technically puberty block. It's the same
Okay,
drug.
I was gonna say, is it-
But like, but
My
it's
understanding is
used
it's-
for a slightly different thing.
Yeah.
Well, there are other ways to suppress estrogen. It is a more delicate balance, but you can't do
Monotherapy,
it
for
just
example.
monotherapy. And it doesn't work for every single woman. That is true. Some people do have to use the puberty blockers, and that's really unfortunate because the damage that they can do to your liver, particularly, I believe,
I'm a humble emote
is
spammer.
very, very
Why the
bad
hell did
over
you ban a
very
humble
large amount of
emoter?
time.
This is unfair
That's
and
why I switched to
nostalgically
shots.
reminds
That's why
me
I
of the
switched
old
to
days
Depo.
playing the unmentionable game with Moot.
Like,
Also,
there are bad side effects of these things. A lot of the maybe am I wrong about a lot of the puberty blocker side effects being able to be controlled for with supplements?
I do think that that's true, especially for like certain things like osteoporosis. I know that
Yeah,
there's
like
ways
calcium.
to mitigate that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on a calcium supplement right now because Depo does that to your bones.
Yeah, I just want to be clear that like when we're talking
Great
about
stuff.
puberty blockers and we're saying that they're very safe, a lot of that evidence is like in a very specific situation.
Yeah.
And if you are taking estrogen to effectively block testosterone, you're probably gonna have a similar effect of like, this is why so many trans women sperm bank, for example. They have this like infertility
Yeah,
loss.
and RJ, it probably does feel pretty bad when everyone else is talking at an academic level and you're like down here at like high school or like middle school biology.
Oh.
It probably does feel pretty bad.
I
I
agree
wish
with that
RJ
big.
could do it
If
more
I
than
could-
just
dog.
offer a Fuentes
If I could
impression.
just, I want to
I would
add
love
one
that.
more thing to this.
Yeah.
One of my very best friends, she's not trans, she's a cis woman, and just for various health reasons, she did not have puberty until she was like 17 and had to have it like
Medically
induced, right?
yeah.
And the effects on her body have been really extreme. You know, she's the tiniest person I know. She's got big personality, but you know, the side effects with like bone density, it's not great for her. And, you know, I think something I've seen repeatedly from a lot of the reporting about how these gender clinics are operating is they don't have enough resources to basically go through and really give every single child the care that they need, looking at that bone density, you know, taking tests, taking to the endo every single week, right? This is a reason we need to invest in care more. Because even having all of this science, it doesn't matter if your local clinic is so underfunded that they can't actually order the tests and process it, right? So I really do think this is a public health emergency. And my motivation for that is going to screen out kids that are probably not trans, right?
Yeah.
Kyla, you said something I really agreed with that on Twitter, and this is a hot take, but you said, like, if we don't really get this pipeline better as far as giving children access to gender clinics, there's going to be a proportion of them, they're going to grow up and they're going to sue their healthcare providers, and it is going to be devastating for the trans movement overall. I fully agree with that assessment. And I think that's why it's so important to make sure we're meeting a higher level of science than we currently are.
Can I
Next
do?
time I will invite Demon Mama and Doe. Go ahead.
Can I do a question?
Please.
I'm concerned when I watch basically I've had to like dismiss RJ because he just like isn't ready for the adult table ever. But the Turk is somebody
God,
that I
poor
actually
RJ.
know is much more like pretty much good faith about a lot of these things. And I just want to be checking in because I think one of the worst things that I think could be the outcome of this conversation is to see a bunch of people who are left and pro-trans stuff biting all of the bullets of concerns and problems and limitations that we should absolutely like walk away with and be concerned about, and your walk away would be like, yeah, see, trans kids shouldn't have access to any of these things. That would be the worst possible interpretation that you could have because it's unsophisticated. And this is the problem when it comes to like resolving a lot of these trans related topics, is that if one side is willing to bite the bullets and then the other side says, great, thanks for giving us the reasonable bullets, now we're just gonna cut off everything because you admitted that you were wrong. That's unironically somewhat driving this trans panic, because that's the worst possible outcome for trans people, right? If a trans community says, yeah, these are the limitations, puberty blockers, these are the things that we don't know, this is the lack of evidence, and then a bunch of like more reasonable, I'm not talking about like the alt-right, but reasonable conservatives go, great, let's take away all of your access to healthcare. It's like, this is why in many ways why we get such a reactionary left and a reactionary right, is because like nobody's willing to like bridge and bite the bullets in between, right? I think
and that's why I'm glad I'm here, because you could take the exact same arguments and apply it to the exact same people that are making your types of policy decisions, and they're going full throttle in the other direction. So it's like, I agree.
I agree. That's why I'm biting those bullets. I agree that there's a problem with what the left is doing and how we're like engaging with the policies and the rhetoric. I agree.
Yeah, because from what I'm hearing in this panel, the validity, not the validity, but the quantity of data doesn't support the stuff that's being broadcasted across mainstream media, Twitter, all these other outlets. It makes it easy for normie conservative dumb folk to say, hey, we shouldn't be doing this because, you know, conservatism, progressive at speed limit or whatever, right? It's like, if y'all guys just slow down and like take this more measured and methodical approach, rather than saying, nope, we got to go full bore, got to get everybody in there. That's where you're losing the main fighting chance that y'all are trying to get support for your thing. Because it's like, I appreciate all of y'all being open and having conversations. But as soon as y'all get onto Twitter and as soon as you engage with people that don't want to be open-minded towards these types of conversations, you instantly shut off the people that are watching those conversations, and they say, nope, I'm not going to support you.
So this is the bridge that I think needs to be built. And this is what like the human part that I think needs to be understood. I think it's understandable for a conservative to say like, are we jumping the gun a little bit? And I would say probably. The issue is I don't know what...
Someone get the clip.
Yeah. The issue is, what do you tell the mom who's watching their kids slowly starve themselves and be anorexic for 7 years and wanting to kill themselves in a state where she can't get access to anything? Like, what do you tell that kid's mom? And this is like the human experience. When conservatives are saying slow the gun, they're talking about an ideological experience of something that they disagree with at an idea level. What progressives are often talking about is human lived experiences of watching people that they love kill themselves. And so it's like, this is where they're like, I honestly like implore like the conservative compassion is saying, like, when you're talking about like slowing down, what you're telling people is your kid doesn't matter as much as this idea does. And I understand at a societal level why you're saying this. The issue is that at the individual level, there must be compassion in that messaging. Otherwise, all progressives are hearing is fuck your kids, I hope they die. That's
and here's the thing is that
I think that your language being so hyperbolic like is part of the problem. Like, we've gone back and forth so much on these studies, and I feel like we both have like a pretty well-grounded understanding of where it's at. And I don't think that like we are talking about this extreme life and death. Like, we don't really have the evidence that people are like killing themselves because they don't get access to HRT. We just don't have that, right? And so I think that when you bring it to this level, I think that that sets you up to have therapists like, or not therapists, have right-wingers, conservatives, people who are very anti-trans, just from like a gut level, to immediately like call you out and tell you that you're totally wrong on that. Even though I know that you know the science very well.
All of the direction of the evidence is suggesting what I am saying. We are in many cases, because all of the suicidal ideation, when people experience the decreases in suicidal ideation in like the populations that were better studied, one of the main things that they cite is the happiness that they experience after the transition. And a lot of people, when they are suicidal, gender dysphoria is the most important thing that they cite that is driving them to kill themselves.
But to be clear, specifically with suicide, that is like one of the metrics that we have the least evidence for. And like, we can talk about suicidal ideation, but another problem here is that suicidal ideation, there's a lot of gradation in it, right? Like, passively thinking about suicide is very different from thinking about suicide with a plan.
I'll correct
and
it.
so like,
the better evidence that we have is for suicide attempts. We don't actually have good evidence for ideation.
We have worse evidence for suicide attempts.
No, we have way more evidence for suicide attempts.
No, I mean, like, look at that 20,000 people study that we were talking about earlier. It's got like a lower p-value for actual attempts than ideation. Ideation, I believe, is the one that...
While
This
y'all are
is-
doing
yeah,
your research,
yeah.
Lab Coat Egghead Synth has a passionate opinion to share.
So, thank you, Erudite, for painting, honestly, a picture of my pain and suffering that really just made me experience it and cry. I genuinely mean thank you, because I don't understand how to get this through to conservatives. That I was genuinely in so much pain and suffering for 7 years of my life that I was slowly killing myself with no recourse. I didn't care about the way that I looked. I didn't care about my life. I didn't care about any of the things that went into it. I escaped completely into other things, and I did not at all progress as a person. And
oh my God.
I don't understand how I am supposed to display how much pain and suffering I was in, and just how much that could have been alleviated by simply saying, here, store your sperm and you can go on estrogen. This is an option for you. It simply would have alleviated so much of the pain in my life, so much of the trauma, so much of the drug abuse, that I use dissociatives so heavily to dissociate from reality because of a lot of gender dysphoria problems. And I don't understand how to get this through to people. I don't understand how I can actually get them to be compassionate, because RJ is just sitting here fucking grinning at my pain and suffering. I mean, it's heartless. These people are genuinely evil.
Damn.
I really hear that pain, and I'm genuinely sorry you went through that. One of the things is, when I ran for office here in Massachusetts, I'd spend a lot of time talking to Republicans. So just cards on the table. I don't think conservatives are all monsters. I grew up in Mississippi. My family are right-wingers. I really genuinely understand where conservatives are coming from. That said, I've really got to push back on a statement that was made earlier here. I think that there's an unconscious assumption, actually a very explicit assumption that's been on this panel. There's the progressives and Twitter that is really accelerating the gender debate in this country. Now, please forgive me if I'm wrong, but raise your hand right now if you don't think trans Twitter sucks and is out of their mind 90% of the time. Please raise your hand if you
raise your hand if they don't suck.
If
they
you love it, if you love trans Twitter,
Yeah, if you love trans
think
Twitter.
there's no problem. Please raise your hand. Great,
Listen,
we all
I
agree.
love all of my oompies, okay?
All of Twitter's
I have, like,
insane, to be clear. If not just
Trans Twitter. Trans
True.
Twitter is a particular wrecking ball.
Yeah.
But let's be very, very clear. Trans Twitter does not have any power. Even the blowback that happened to developing the new standards of care for children was largely academics talking to each other on mailing lists and giving nasty comments, right? The people that have the power right now, the people that are hypercharging this debate is the Daily Wire, which is doing show after show after show to millions of people, demonizing trans people. It's bills that are happening in the State House. We just learned this week that a huge treasure trove of documents, emails from anti-trans activists came forward with secret think tanks that are out there writing
I don't know what I'm
these
supposed to do against
laws
ghosts.
and passing them off to people.
Is there anything?
So
I can't build
we all
ultras.
agree that there are excesses on both sides when it comes to the language of this. I would posit to everyone on this panel, when it comes to attacking trans civil rights, when it comes to criminalizing the decisions that someone can make with their doctor and healthcare provider, there's one side of the country that's
I
doing
feel like I
this,
can't do anything.
and it's not
This
trans
is so
Twitter.
fucking stupid. Oh my god, I hate
I
this
just
matchup.
find it funny that
he's
you
just like
think
slowly
that
turtling out. I
this
can't like
one
pressure.
segment of a social media platform is not the one that's driving any of this. This social
didn't
media
say that.
platform is feeding into other social media platforms, and other social media platforms merge into other platforms. This information is coming out from all different aspects, and it's being shared and propagated. So as much as you don't think that
Broodlords
trans
feel so
Twitter
horrible.
is a large component of this, it is a component of it, and it
Sure.
unfortunately
Like, I'm gonna use Broodlords, but they just get sniped by the ghost or killed by
I
the.
agree with you. Hold on. I agree with you. In fact, I said earlier in this debate, I think the messaging that trans Twitter has decided has set the trans community on course oblivion with civil
and
rights.
it's happening on Facebook, and it's happening on all these
So-
other.
So I agree with that, but there is a difference. There's a difference in
It's Twitch
messaging,
too.
and there's a difference in actually writing bills and criminalizing healthcare.
Yeah, because
those
it got
are
to
two
Facebook.
different.
It got to all the boomers that are actually now worried about it.
Okay, so I just want to like go back a little bit and pause. So when we're talking about suicidal disparities, Taff, I apologize. It was one study that I don't think I had sent to you yet. It's by Toma. I'm not sure if you've seen Brian C. Toma, 2019. That's the main one that I'm citing that I think did a really, really good job of breaking apart the different groups of cisgender versus transgender, and did a really good job of analyzing them. Obviously, you can go through. I know you're like just getting it sent, so it's going to be a little bit different. But when we look, if you go all the way down to table 4, that's the one that I'm focusing on. And if we have like an odds rate, it basically, I don't want to have to explain odd ratios. If anyone will just grant me that I know what I'm talking about when I'm saying odds ratios, what we see is that for both suicidal ideation and attempts, transgender women were the highest, like overall doing this. They were vastly out, like ideating and attempting, and then the next under them was transgender men compared to cisgender of both of those things.
Yeah, to be clear, I absolutely agree that these people have much higher rates of suicidality, and that's definitely like very well founded. I think what is less well founded is whether or not HRT has a positive effect, right? So like there's a few studies that we've gone over. For example, I think like the big one that is probably not even a representative sample, but does find like beneficial effects with mental health and with ideation. Then you look at like ideation with a plan, ideation with plan and attempt, and the p-values of those are like much higher, like 0.73 and 0.64, right? So that's what I mean, that like when you break it down, you get like very different answers across the spectrum as far as where the benefit of HRT is.
Oh,
really
they're all
going.
dead. All 8 of those are dead.
And that is the source of my claim for having less data on the actual people who are actually committing suicide or having plans and actual like things planned out for the suicide, rather than people who are just passively ideating.
Okay.
And he has infinite vision
Great.
over like all my units.
All right. So unless somebody has a can of worms that they want to open up, I do feel like the progressive and the one fascist, the esoteric fascist, were able to find some common ground. I felt like Turk did some good pushback. And then RJ, I know that lab coat bullshit is not your favorite thing, but maybe next time we'll get Erudite to send you some homework notes. That way you can do lab coat shit, so you can argue with her about lab coat shit. So,
Perfect.
And then if not, then
Do
we
you
will
actually want
insist.
studies?
And
Oh
then
yeah,
we will-
send them my way. I'd love to.
and,
Yeah.
and
look
if
over
you
it.
don't want to argue lab code shit, then what we'll do
thought so.
instead is we will force the progressives and the leftists and our esoteric fascists to exclusively talk about anecdotes, feelings, and literature of a
Very
spiritual
masculine
nature
things. Yep.
in order
Yep,
to
yep.
inform it. And I'm kind of not kidding. Like if they had like a bunch of Karl Marx quotes and you were coming at them with the
Oh,
Bible, I
boy.
think that would actually be pretty good.
Hey, if
so-
RJ wants to talk about his fifis instead of all this, I'm down anytime.
Yeah. So absolutely would love it. But since we are coming towards the last 15 minutes, I do feel like y'all are covering good ground, but it also does feel to be more like a nuanced breakdown instead of people trying to go for each other's throats. We're going to go into outros and shoutouts. Then you're welcome to kind of hang out with us, decompress, although this was a relatively chill panel. If you want to hang out for an hour, just bullshit, talk about whatever you want to talk about, you can. If you have another engagement, if you want to be someplace else, you can dip out. So, Miss Brianna, where can
Yes.
people find you? What are you passionate about? Shout yourself out and share any final thoughts on the topic.
Oh my god, this is so nerdy. Please don't judge
It's
me.
like unwinnable.
but
I don't
was
know
at
what to do
Games
against
Done
the
Quick,
Mass Q snipes. It's like so fucking
speedrunning
stupid.
Super
I have no
Mario
idea.
2, my Princess Peach only speedrun. I'm literally one of the top speedrunners in the entire
Like
world
Swarm hosts?
with
Okay,
Princess
yeah, I'll try that, I
Peach,
guess,
so
next time.
please go check that out. We just had the Frame Fatales event, and I'm trying to get into San Diego for the really big Games Done Quick prime time to do that. And when Resident Evil 4 drops next week, I will be speedrunning that one. If you want to see some hot takes, you can follow me on Twitter at Brianna Wu for as long as that service continues to exist.
And then it seemed like Turk had a passionate response to speedrunning Peach, so I'm going to let him do his outro next. Shout your stuff out and give us a rebuttal that Brianna is legally prohibited from responding to.
I did just a quick question. Did they remove the mask requirements for GDQ coming up?
I have no idea.
Oh, never mind.
All right, well, I'm
Anyways.
happy to have nerds. Turk, please.
Yeah,
shout
so
your stuff
I'm
out.
Turk. I do science and tech, PC hardware, gaming handhelds, and all that stuff. If you know what the Steam Deck is, you should definitely look up my channel on YouTube at The Turk. You can find me on all the other social medias as well. I'm glad this debate was actually kind of like a conversation.
Hadn't
for
watched in a long
once,
time
so,
from like the early
props to
2000s.
Counterpoints
And
for not
just the casual, the casual sort of gay humor, casual use of the hard R.
Oh, really?
It's jarring. Yeah, it's jarring now. And for
Casual use of hard R.
Yeah.
Of where?
Yeah, absolutely. Like okay, it was an episode of American Dad, and it was just
Really?
like, yeah, it wasn't for shock value. It was just like used.
Whoa.
Right. Well, I mean, here's
Wait,
the thing,
what?
right? That was in 2003 or something, like 2002.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna
Wait, did
deny that I dropped my fair share of hard R's back then because we didn't even the term hard R didn't even exist.
What?
Haven't watched in a long time from like the early 2000s, and just the casual, the casual sort of gay humor, casual use. That was in 2003 or something, like 2002.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna deny that I dropped my fair share of hard R's back then because we didn't even the term hard R didn't even exist. We didn't think about it, right? And it's funny because to me that doesn't feel like that long ago, but to my kids,
Are you talking like N-word hard R?
what? No,
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's how people use that term.
no,
I think
that's
so.
the N-word.
What is he?
What are you guys talking about?
What is he saying?
Am I mistaken?
I think so.
No, the one with the like for like mental disability.
I'm pretty sure people use hard R in a very different way than you just used it.
Oh. Okay, either
hard
way.
R means ending
I understand.
the N-word
I
with
understand.
a hard R.
I understand what you mean. No, I'm not talking about that. Okay, cool. So I'm glad that
I'm
we have
freaking
cleared that
Neo
up.
over here, dude. We're dodging bullets. That was bad.
Okay, yes.
All right.
Thank you for that. Right, I forgot about the part where I said, yeah, I just like used it. Yeah, no, actually.
That's what I was like. I was pretty surprised with American Dad, and then you were like, "Yeah, me too." I was like, "Whoa!" Okay,
Yeah, no, you've known me a long time.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah,
and yeah,
never been a problem.
No.
Yeah.
Anywho,
we can breathe. Everything's okay.
Cool. So
right.
I hope everyone likes not having a job anymore on Monday, because apparently I'm a giant racist.
We didn't lose our money in the bank crash. The
Yeah,
bank
no.
run,
In the audience run.
All right, we're good. Whew, okay, we're good.
Cool. So anywho, the point is that to my kids, 2002, 2003 is a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, 10 years before I was born. 1976 is a long time ago to me. It's all relative.
I think
right?
so.
It's like, yeah, peace and love, hippies, like that's a world that I never coexisted with, right? And so it was interesting to me how jarring it was, even though, like I said, to me, people casually using the R word then, is that better?
I think so.
Okay, casually
Linus,
using the
just
R
stop.
word was what it was surprising. All right. So, why don't we do a couple merch messages?
Okay. That sounds like a good idea to me. Okay. This is from Romeo. Would you guys consider a hot dog or a burger a form of sandwich? Or would they be their own food category?
No,
Show
I
your
hate it when McDonald's calls their burgers sandwiches. A, because they're burgers, and B, because I think that sandwich has a connotation associated with it that whatever the thing is actual food.
Good one.
And I strongly disagree that anything McDonald's sells is food.
Heck yeah.
Okay, you want another one?
These conversations make me uncomfortable. It's like when people ask if cereal's soup. Like I don't
No.
I don't want it.
Cereal is cereal. You would never
Gazpacho.
eat soup dry, but you can eat cereal dry. That's the distinction.
Never had like a packet of ramen without cooking it?
Oh, crap.
Haha!
See, this is why I
Gazpacho.
don't even want to have the conversation. I don't want to know. I want to live in ignorance.
Bro, what are you doing?
It's just food categories. It's not going to affect my life. I don't like. You can't improve my life by convincing me that
What are
cereal
you
is
doing?
soup. I'm just better off where I am. Sorry, do another
Yeah,
one.
this is awful because, yeah,
See
even
what
if
I
you go
mean?
like, yeah, it's a
Granola
milk
bar?
base, but so is a cream of broccoli soup.
Granola bar.
Granola bar.
If you were to take cream of broccoli soup and like freeze dry it into a bar.
What if you freeze it into a popsicle pipe?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, this is making me uncomfortable.
See?
Let's move on.
See? Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like it.
Next one's up from Jacob.
This guy
Happy
hates
Friday,
me so
guys.
much.
I'm an IT engineer that is often disappointed by mature technologies or protocols. What consumer or enterprise tech disappoints you most? Example, Bluetooth, printers, AV, SMB, etc.
Oh, I mean, well, you nailed it on printers.
Printers is just too easy.
Yeah, that's a super low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like this is the sort of thing that I rant about
every month.
Which is
No.
Throwing me into too big of a trap. But I stand by all my intros too, and I think I won this debate, so pretty good day for me.
Okay, so in order to have the proper amount of shit on Turk, we'll go to Erudite. Please shit on Turk and do your outro.
I don't want to shit on Turk. Turk, your beard looks great. I feel like every time I see you, I feel like the beard game is better. And not a lot of men can pull off a good beard. A lot of men are very panchy. My husband is jealous, I'm sure. Of the beard, specifically before a schizo FBI analyst thinks something else. I should clarify that. I don't know. You can find me on Twitter anywhere. Yeah.
Okay, Baze, appreciate you. RJ, please share any final thoughts and where the folks at home can find you.
Yeah, my name's RJ. I'm a nationalist and a Christian. You can find me at real
According
RJ
to her,
Video
he did not
on
tell her
Twitter.
to not
Well,
do
keep hanging there
this.
with us. And then, Ms. Sith, go ahead.
So I'm Synth. I am Princess Cynthia on Twitter. I kind of have divorced myself from online stuff, but if you want to follow me, I do occasionally tweet dumb shit. I really appreciate being invited on. Thank you. It was really nice to talk to people who actually seem to know what they were talking about, minus the one. But yeah, it was a really nice panel. Thank you for hosting it.
My very sincere pleasure. And then finally, definitely not the least of us, Ms. Touch. Please shout yourself out and share any of your final thoughts.
Well, yeah, you can follow me, Taftoj1 on Twitter, or Tathrisms. That's my political one. I talk politics, and Twitter is a constant shit show, but it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I think that this discussion is good. I think people surprise me in their willingness to cede ground. And I think that the real hard question of the future is how do we actually move into a world where
Maybe
people are
Willie
willing
KB.
broadly on a societal level to simultaneously acknowledge the issues and problems with this body of data, and also that the solution is to get more data without necessarily jumping to conclusions either way. I think that that would be really where I want to go. And my sense is that there needs to be some sort of consensus before we can do that. And I'm not exactly sure what the pathway is from here. But I was impressed and slightly, I don't know, faith in humanity slightly improved by the panel and by the people on the left here who were able to engage in really good faith. So I appreciate it.
Well, maybe if I got 6 smart motherfuckers to come into the room in order to define gender and sex for us, then we could move on a consensus. But
Might just take longer.
It would actually take longer, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So I sincerely appreciate everyone here. If you want to dip out, go ahead and dip out. This is kind of going to be like the chill section of the panel, where we kind of do like a post-mortem on the debate. Or we can move into random memes, conversations, whatever. So if you want to talk about Princess Peach or speedrunning or Warhammer 40,000 or the gender trinary or whatever will get you canceled on Twitter, we can move into that.
Is anyone else playing Resident Evil 4? The demo's out?
Remake for the fucking 20th goddamn time.
Yeah, but no, they're really doing it with the RE engine this time. I'm so super psyched about this.
But like, how is that? All right, I'm gonna be a douche canoe. How is that not the exact
I
same
might
fucking
need
game?
to
Over
leave
and over? I would love to do a playthrough of all the Halo video games, but how is it not just the same shit? Because I think they released like 3 times.
That is a great question, and let me assuage your worries here. This is not the same game at all. They took the ideas of the game and completely redid it with the best action camera system and the most cutting-edge graphics you will ever see in your life. It is phenomenal. Oh my god, I love these games. I'm one of the top speedrunners in Resident Evil 3 in the entire world. These are completely new games, so don't think it's just like them throwing a coat of paint on a...
What the fuck? What has this person done in their life?
Like a high-fidelity
Oh my god.
So you could probably think of it more like the Final Fantasy remake, where they take like the essence of Final Fantasy VII, but they put it into a different like mechanic and not necessarily graphical style. So it's like if you liked the original game, this will be like playing the same game from a different perspective and a different like time in your life. So you might enjoy it differently, you know.
As much as I would like to talk about video games, I do unfortunately need to get going. I've been awake for around 34 hours now. So Counterpoints, thank you for having me on. Not so right, it was a pleasure speaking with you again as well as everyone else on the panel. Thank you for having me.
Thank you kindly, and then appreciate you, buddy.
Just to be clear, if anything comes out to contradict me, then, you know, call me a liar. But for every girl that said they wanted to fuck with Max, my statements to them repeatedly and over again were, hey, I'm not going to tell you what you want to do. Actually, you can even ask anybody that has gone on the record talking to Max. A lot of women DM me and they're like, hey, what should I say to him? What should I say? What should I tell him? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, say what you want. I'm not here to influence your shit. I said that to almost every single woman that reached out to me, who asked me. I said that to like pretty much everyone. Just letting you know. In case Max tries to say otherwise. He declined to tell you, but he did accept the recordings? Oh yeah, of course. If people wanted to give me info. Do you think we lose because you can block this? Such amazing Protoss play. I'm glad that we have like a good dearth of options to all in from. Oh, actually, wait, that thing's out of energy. Fuck, I gave up too early. Okay. I think if I leave this game, I think we just have GM, I think. Okay, good luck. See if Contender works that way.
Buongiorno.
Oh, it doesn't. Why
Hello, Steven.
not? Hi, what's up?
You seem tired. Inject energy into your voice. Get hyped, okay?
Oh, everybody does this. You have to leave like the exact fucking second. Oh, this promotion system is actually so stupid. I
Wait,
should
what are
have
you
left
talking
right when
about?
the minute turn. You can get into Grandmaster, but you have to like game the system. You like join and leave the game instantly to get in. Oh, how stupid. Because it's already full. There's already 200 people in.
That's crazy. Just crazy. Are you going to be addicted to StarCraft now?
No, I just want to get GM. I have the MMR for it. I just have to figure out how their like autistic fucking re-rating system works. Okay, what's up?
Hi. What part did you join in of the discussion?
I don't know. I have no idea. Halfway through? I didn't join the beginning, so how can I know what part I joined in?
Like what we were discussing.
Trans stuff.
Trans stuff, true. Legit. Erudite, huh? Do you think she has good takes? Do you think I have good takes? Please validate me, please.
Yeah, I think I broadly agreed with both of you.
Nice.
You guys seem to mostly agree, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think we agree on like the state of the research and the data, but I think I'm a little bit more cynical about it. So like this is maybe like a medical ethics thing that it's possible I don't like fully understand, but my sense is that if we have this option,
Okay, hold on. Can you? Your mic right now is like 50% cancer. Can you turn it down a little bit so it's like at 28% cancer? Cut the volume by like 10 or 15%.
How is this?
Much better. What'd you change?
I just turned down the gain.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Tell me what's up. Okay. Keep talking. Go ahead.
Okay, I think that we broadly agree, but we sort of come to different conclusions. And I don't know if this is a medical ethics thing that I don't fully understand and that Erudite understands better. But my sense is that if there is a medical option that doesn't have like a lot of evidence backing it or a lot of strong evidence backing it, I think that, and potentially like some risks, and it seems like the demographic profile of people who are pursuing it is different from in previous cohorts. My sense is that there needs to be some sort of like restriction until you can get that figured out, rather than letting it continue at the same increasing rates. And I think that Erudite has a sort of different perspective on that. I'm not sure.
No, she necessarily has to have the same opinion. I don't think she can disagree with that.
True.
Wait, also, how the fuck do you pronounce your name?
Who?
You. Everyone is saying erudite now, but you correct me so many times that it's erudite, it's erudite. Now literally every single fucking person. Also,
The only
by the
question
way,
that matters to me is, do you know my first name yet?
Kyla.
You fucking piece of shit.
It is Kyla, yeah?
Yeah?
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah,
I was right. Then fuck you.
Okay. Sorry, Duff. I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're all good. Steven said you had to agree with that, but I'm not. Do you?
Why do you think I need to agree with that?
I guess that's a question for Steven. Because I don't think you have to agree with that.
Oh, yeah. Dude, my brain is in 17 different directions right now. Okay. What did you just ask? Sorry, say that one more time. On whether or not you would agree with that? No, not, yeah, go.
I think that, okay, Erudite, you go.
So she outlined basically her concerns about the limitations of the research and why basically as a response she's basically like landed at her position that she has, and you said that I must then agree with that, correct?
Yeah, the main point that she was saying was that the evidence right now for trans in kids is pretty weak. So to have this implemented as like a standard of care is probably too far, but like experimental treatments or used in studies or research is probably fine. I think we probably all agree on that.
That's an amazing interpretation. Yes, thank you, Stephen.
So the reason why I differ with that is because I would say all theoretical speculation and all of the evidence that we do have is suggestive in the direction that HRT for kids is good for them, right?
Yeah, but there's two huge
HRTs.
issues. One is that if it is good, I haven't read recent studies, you can get me wrong, but if it is good, the effect size I think is quite small, right?
So it depends on the study that you're talking about. A lot of the effect sizes, like if you're talking about like the De Bryce in 2014, for example, and which is the Dutch model, for those who aren't sure who that is. In the De Bryce model, they did this selection bias necessarily to try to limit confounding factors. So they selected for kids that had basically no comorbidities with other mental health disorders, and were in many ways kind of some of the least severe cases of individuals, and then measured whether HRT affected them long term. And there was a number of really positive effects on HRT. Taff and I talked about this. The most compelling to me is the CBCL and the ABCL, which are like the same shit.
That's a little bit. Do you think that the I feel like that selection criteria might be a little bit problematic though? No.
So specifically, why it would be problematic is actually more suggestive of my direction. So if you give interventions to people who are less severe, you always expect a less robust effect size, right? Because if you have
hold on, don't. I understand what you're saying. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off. I understand exactly what you just said. But what you're assuming is that those comorbidities would respond similarly to HRT or would all point in the same direction, but that's not necessarily true, right?
So what we would expect typically, this is going to be theoretical speculation, which is why I said it is obviously reasonable to come to either conclusion. I've just come to the opposite.
Well, no, hold on, wait. I'm fighting you on the fact that you just said that it would bolster your argument, and I'm saying that it would have no effect on the argument, and it could just as plausible go completely in the opposite way as for one of the other ways.
That would be very shocking to me.
Not at all. I don't think so. Let's hypothesize for a moment, okay?
Sure.
We have a large group of people, okay, and we're going to axe out 90% of them with comorbidities to see if HRT is an effective method of treating this particular gender dysphoria, whatever the fuck they're treating, right? Transness, I guess, right? When we do that, we see that the effect is big, and we see that it's statistically significant. We like this study; it's good. Okay, we have a big effect, statistically significant. We've got all this; it looks good. Okay, but the problem is that it might be the fact that you've controlled away a comorbidity in a larger group that could be confounding whether or not HRT would be good. So, for instance, hypothetically, let's say that you controlled away 90% of mental illness, and of those people that are mentally ill, let's say that the likeliness of them actually being trans is far lower than in the 10% group you cut away that doesn't have that comorbidity. That would be a case where what would actually happen once you roll those people back in and give them the treatment, it would move in exactly the opposite direction, right?
Correct.
Okay,
right.
so that's why I'm only saying, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that it doesn't necessarily move you one way or another, I don't think. It's just something to think about.
So let me bridge you as to why I made the assumption that I think it would bolster the effect. So what I'm basing this off of is actually what we see in forensic treatment with high-risk teens. What we see with high-risk teens is the more severe they are in, say, like criminal actions and antisociality in general, the more severe they are, the more comorbidities that they obviously have as well. And what we see is what we used to do is control similarly to this DeVries study, where you have the least kind of comorbid complex teens receiving treatment, and you'd have pretty minimal effect sizes. And that led the entire forensic field to assume that basically giving like rehabilitative justice to kids was pretty low in effect size, kids and adults. And what we actually found is that when we expanded this to include high comorbidities, and then we did lots of research, like tons and tons of data to basically look at whether or not rehabilitation on these complex teens was actually beneficial on like later recidivism and stuff like this, what we saw is that actually the effect size that was so small that it was clinically non-significant and statistically non-significant grew, because you were including a much more severe group of individuals into your case study, and then the effects of the treatment were more effective.
I understand what you're saying, but the effect there, the problem is that we're talking about recidivism and children like committing like violent crimes and stuff. There is no contention around whether or not they're having recidivism. There's no contention around whether or not they're committing violent crime. You don't have a cohort of these people that might not actually be violent criminals, but were like falsely charged, right? In order for your study, in order for that analogy to make sense, that would have to be like, I did a study with 100 people, 90 of them were falsely charged, but I got rid of those 90 people. And then on the 10 people, I put them through all these juvenile delinquency programs, all these rehabilitation programs, and the effects were actually really good on their lives. Now I'm gonna roll back in the other 90 and try it. Well, in that case, if these guys weren't actually criminals and they were just like people that got falsely convicted, you you might actually have way worse outcomes enrolling people that were falsely convicted in juvenile detention programs and these types of other things to prevent recidivism, because that initial thing wasn't even there. That's why I'm saying it's not analogous here. I don't think at all.
Sort of. So one thing that is analogous that I'm looking at is I'm comparing recidivism to specifically suicide attempts, because recidivism is basically, the reason why it's so good to predict is it's a yes or no. Either you do commit a crime or you don't. It's pretty like, although there is that gray area of like you could commit a crime and not be charged, but we kind of just
I understand
go
that, but I'm saying like
so I'm comparing it to the suicide.
Yeah, but what I'm saying
stuff.
is we pull back on a macro level, we just ask a basic question, right? The problem is I would expect HRT to reduce suicidality. This would be my hypothesis. It reduces suicidality in kids that are actually trans. But because there are so many other comorbidities that are existing in kids that are quote unquote trans, those comorbidities might actually impair your ability to determine who is trans. That's the confusing thing, I think.
Yes, I would
and it
agree
might be,
with
and
that.
then that.
So
brings
I
in
understand you're saying the sample population.
Yeah,
is different.
exactly. And the second thing that comes in is that the cohort has changed dramatically from sad, lonely people that are murdering themselves because they feel horrible to like fucking 80% of trans people today are NBs with pierced noses and blue hair on college campuses that are all AFABs. And that dramatic change in cohort is also indicative that there's and I think that was the reason why I think it was Sweden, right, that dropped, or was it the UK that dropped their...
It was Sweden, Finland.
Finland, yeah, okay. The reason why they dropped it is because the cohort is changing so much that it's like, ooh, hold on, well, now we're not sure anymore.
Yes. So this is the issue with the data. I think there's a lot of reasonable assumptions to come to. It's possible that mine is unreasonable. I'm not seeing it, I suppose. When I look at, for example, like the Andrews 2022 study, where you've got this clumping of basically trans kids and non-binary kids all together, I agree that this doing this kind of this confounding thing. What I'm saying though is that I suspect that if you cleaned that up and you took kind of the most severe cases of trans individuals, it wouldn't be surprising to me, and it would match all of our theoretical speculation about gender dysphoria, and it would match in my understanding of the adult samples, it would match more what we're finding in adult populations, that the more severe cases of people who have lots and lots of gender dysphoria, they're probably what we would say like quote unquote the most like actual trans, these people are actually going to probably benefit the most from HRT, and therefore it's going to be affecting our effect sizes in the direction I'm suggesting.
Yeah, hold on, wait, we gotta get, the study doesn't matter. I'm sorry, hold on, the study doesn't matter. We need to get our brains aligned here on this, on the actual like research part of this, okay? Because I don't know if you're not understanding me or if I'm not understanding you, okay? What the debate that we're having is, let's say that we've got 100 people and we think all of them have cancer, but only 10 of them have cancer. And we want to, and the 90 that have fake cancer have like a ton of comorbidities. Like they might be malnourished, they might have autoimmune disease, they might have a bunch of other things that mask as neoplastic syndrome or other kind of cancer related things, right? Well, let's say that we say, okay, let's get rid of all these kind of weaker cases. Let's take the 10 most obvious strong cancer cases and pump them full of chemo, irradiate the fuck out of them. And now we see that their outcomes are really good. Well, from there, we're safe to assume that the effect size is huge here. If we bring on all the people with the comorbidities, well, now it's going to be even better. But that's not true, because of that 90 people that we cut away. We've cut away so much confounding stuff that might be masked to the fact that those people don't have cancer. If only 10 out of the 90 we cut away have cancer, 80 out of 90 of those people are now getting a treatment that's totally inappropriate. And now our effect size would reverse, and we would expect to see negative outcomes, which I think is possible.
So I understand. The
Okay.
issue is, unlike cancer, we're talking about mental illness. It is wholly possible that HRT will be used on an individual who has the quote unquote fake cancer, and they will improve, because more about what has to do with like mental well-being is your intrapersonal experience. So this is a whole other confounding factor, which is that if you believe that you're trans, even if say by some magic one we find out you literally are not, it is still possible that HRT will have positive benefits for you, because it's mapping onto what you feel like you need, and it's creating a more cohesive.
But I think that would probably be a I don't know if there's a name for this in research, where you create a positive outcome that is undesired. I think that would probably not be an outcome that we would shoot for.
There's two problems here. There's two problems, okay? And we're kind of speaking past each other, because two things are happening right now, right? In the study that sparked this discussion, the effect size was small. And the reason why it was small is because the cohort of people that was selected for it was so carefully selected that they didn't have a lot of mental health issues in the first place. So part of that is you're probably selecting people who are going to benefit a lot, that are like actually trans in Destiny's example, but you're also selecting people who are just like, their benefit is going to be relatively small, which is what Erudite's saying. And what she's saying is like, to her point, like you can't really improve that much. So if the effect size is small, that doesn't really mean that it's like going to be small for everyone. It just means that like for these people who are very well selected, both for transness and also for like general mental health and well-being, the effect size is small, right? So like you're both kind of correct, but you're like touching on different parts of the selection process.
Yeah, I would agree with that, which is why this is the issue that I get to at the very end of the debate. I'm not sure if you watched it, which is what do we do about the policy, right? When I think it is reasonable to presume that HRT maybe isn't benefiting kids, and I also think it's reasonable to presume that it is, right? The data is just so messy across the board, which is why like I don't even understand the SOC8. It's like blowing my mind that
I think that's great. I think it's fine. It's a cutting edge new treatment for a cutting edge new social phenomenon. I would expect the data to be all across the board. But I think the reasonable thing to do is that's then not implemented as policy at the country level or whatever. And instead it's reserved for like these are experimental research things. If all else fails, or if there's some special selection criteria that you go through, just like how we would test any other drug under phase 2 or phase 3 trials, you would go that route. That's what I would
Or if
assume.
people are willing to enter a study that like they know that there's a chance that they're going to be, you know, put into the group that gets therapy, and then they also have a chance of being put into HRT, right? Like if you are restricting it to people who are going to allow you to study them, that's a great way to get data, and also, you know, to make it so that there's a little bit of control and restriction, so you're not just shuttling everyone down the same path.
Sure. I guess the part that I have a really hard time biting is that all of the evidence and theoretical speculation suggests that HRT should be beneficial specifically to trans individuals. And so like, I'm not talking about maybe like major medical interventionism at 16 where you're like doing like major surgeries. I think that that's probably not a very wise idea, but I don't know how I stand on the side and say like, we probably shouldn't like allow people to access, especially if it's like between doctor, parent, and like specialists saying that like we shouldn't be allowing kids on like puberty blockers and stuff like this, because like I agree that the research is in its infancy. The issue is, in my estimation, all the theoretical speculation suggests that it should be beneficial, and the like crappy data, albeit crappy, but the issue is like just because it's crappy doesn't mean that it's not suggestive of a direction.
Sure, but while that's true, I think that you have to keep in mind on the research side, everything you're saying is fine, but when we come over to the policy side, we have to be very, very, very careful going down a potentially bad road. Right?
Yes.
Because if you push a little bit too hard, the whiplash might break your neck. Right? If we do start to get all these stories and all of a sudden you're getting a ton of people coming out saying like, oh, like I thought I was trans, now I'm 26, I don't. It got into the surgery stage, like I took puberty blockers, blah, 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 blah. Like the blowback from that would be severe, I think, which is why the drug question and everything needs to be, I feel like, and I heard this even come up on your panel, and I feel like I've actually gotten most conservatives with this, and I could even be wrong, and I just don't know, and I fell prey to the conservative fucking bias or whatever, but like it feels like this statement of like relentless affirmation is fucking cancer, and it feels like that's pervasive in these communities of like going to like a gender therapist or whatever, that they're not there to be critical, they're not there to actually help you figure out what your problems are, they're there to say, yes, here are your drugs, you were trans, absolutely, I'm only going to relentlessly reaffirm you. That's what it feels like.
And so the culture is that if you go against that, you're going to be labeled as transphobic, and that's like the politicization, right? Like I think both me and Brianna, like I don't know. I think most reasonable people agree that the politicization is just total cancer, because it prevents us from actually addressing these issues and really having conversations about them, because no one wants to be labeled transphobic. But on like the other side, like we have people who have no knowledge of transness or medicine who are like weighing in just because they get like a gross feeling in their stomach, and that's like also just a complete disaster for the whole discussion.
Yeah. No, I mean I agree with all of these like hesitations, like absolutely. And this is why when I look at the SOC8, it sounds really good. And I do this bridge of, I know that there's oftentimes a very big gap between like what is recommended as treatment and what is like lived out. And I'm trying to balance this, for example, with like what the trans community is saying their experience is with getting care, which is that it's incredibly difficult. It's pretty much like cost prohibitive, like in and of itself, and that it can actually be decently difficult to get like access to this. What I don't know is when they're saying prohibitive, do they mean that it's hard to get diagnosed with gender dysphoria to then get treated? Or is it just a really long wait time? Because like wait times in and of itself are like one thing, but what I'm really wanting to be cautious about, and I like echoed this caution, is that fake cancer group? Are we vetting them out properly? I think that that's a really important question.
The other issue is that like if someone's not satisfied with their gender clinic, a lot of times, at least in the US, you can go elsewhere, right?
That's a
And
problem with
so-
all of medicine, though, unfortunately, right?
Yeah, but what it results in is that, like, if you are trying to do a study, like you're trying to run a control group and like an HRT group, and you're trying to really figure this out, well, you'll ask like these young people, do you want to participate in this? And they'll just say no, and they'll just like go somewhere else. And that's why it's really hard to find participants for these more expansive, well-done studies. This is actually something that like came up in Britain, where they were trying to do these better experiments and people just like weren't willing to do them. So I do think there needs to be like some sort of coordinated attempt to get better data, because otherwise people are just going to filter to whoever is going to write the prescription.
Yes, I understand this. I guess the main thing that I get caught on is basically, I know where the evidence is at. I'm speculating essentially that it's going to probably fall on the side that HRT is beneficial for transgender people. It probably improves outcomes. However, I'm also suspecting, because there's basically no data on psychological intervention, that psychological interventions are also going to be significantly beneficial and will probably reduce the amount of people seeking medical care. That would be my guess of what's going to like turn out in the data.
Yeah, true. We just have to be careful with what we're talking about. I think the problem isn't. I personally don't think that HRT is going to be beneficial to every single person who says they're trans. It's probably going to be beneficial to every single person that is trans, but our screening process for that right now seems to be not the best. I think that's the issue. And I think that's where the psychosocial or psychological interventions I think are probably more important, that need to be pushed more. But, and again, I can only go by what I read online. Like, it feels like there are a lot of trans people in communities that I read that, like, if a psychologist questions you, they label those doctors as transphobes. Like, I've seen for British people that they will call out. I think I see this on when I was doing my Keffels article, I ran into, I think there were Reddit posts on this even, where people like, don't go to this doctor, don't go to this doctor. Like, they'll ask you a lot of questions, they'll do this, like, do this doctor, they'll just like give you blah, blah, blah. Where if you even get a question about it, like, people push back on it, right? And then some people shortcut that process completely and just start ordering their drugs from Brazil. So yeah, that seems to be a problem that culturally we've kind of, and again, I always point back to this god awful, and I don't know if it's still popular, it probably is, that self-ID concept should have been killed in the cradle. The idea that ever became a popular idea for anything to do with trans is like fuck this whole process up so hard.
Right. And Taff and I talked about this previously, but I think the lumping of the non-binary group into the trans group specifically is like creating such a problem now, and you can't really undo it.
Let's be more specific. It's the lumping of the trans trenders with the transgenders. That's the problem.
Exactly.
It's the AFABs that want attention versus the people that actually have issues. Yeah.
Well, clinically, when we're looking, so like one of the best articles, which even like Taff and I will still agree, there are issues with it, right? One of the best articles, the biggest issue with this article is that it's just labeling non-binary. And the issue is that there are a number of youth specifically who are trans but label non-binary because they're typically in a transition period of figuring out what the fuck they are anyways, right? Sure. From my understanding of the title non-binary, it becomes a bit of like a safety holding net for people as they're trying to figure out, because
it's like people that call
understandably
themselves queer, right? You just like, I don't know exactly, I'm queer, right? Yeah. It's like
exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. And so like when we're looking at like studies of like suicidality and stuff like that, we do see like heightened levels, for example, in kids who are on HRT tend to perform a little bit better on like suicidal ideation and stuff like that. Or Taff can correct me on which one it is now on this specific study. I don't know. I'm just not convinced that if you remove the fakers that we would see a decrease in effect size. I suspect if we remove the fakers, we would see an increase in effect size on like suicidality and HRT specifically.
I think we all agree with that. Yeah, we would all agree with that. If you remove the fakers, I would expect the effect size to dramatically increase. But that whole concept of like social contagion that conservatives and everybody are always fucking talking about, they're talking about the transtenders there. That's what they're worried about, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, with the cohorts changing so much, I think it's legit to.
I think it's slightly more complicated because there's probably some people, if gender identity disorder or dysphoria is on a spectrum, there's going to be some people who could probably live their lives and be okay with not transitioning, who, because they're exposed to the internet and all these people who are telling them, you need HRT or you'll kill yourself, this is really bad, etc., and etc. They're exposed to all of the social media that's going to inflame their body issues. These people, I think, are going to have really severe issues when you know, in a different era without the same social media use, or maybe with therapy, they could be fine without transitioning. But because they do have some legit underlying issue, even if it's a small one, they might get like some benefit or kind of like a wash benefit from HRT. And then those people, like, what do you tell them? They're not being hurt by HRT, but they're not really being benefited from it either. And so I think it's sort of complicated too, where you have people who have like half cancer in this scenario.
Yeah, or they're getting a benefit, but it's like, should you be? Like, actually, here's a really interesting question ethically that I don't know the answer to. Let's say that there was a person who, this is highly unlikely, I'm just going to use this example, but let's say the person who doesn't have cancer, but they truly think they do, and we put that person on chemotherapy. What if they have a rough chemo session, but afterwards, all of their health indicators are actually improved and actually do feel better after the chemotherapy? Like,
this is a T. Like, T is just happy drug. Like, it's just like if you inject T into people, they feel stronger because they literally are, and they often experience high levels of happiness. So when you're looking at like female to male transitions, right? One thing that you're gonna have to check for is how much of this is responsible just by T, how much is because of gender dysphoria, and also how do we even parse these two things apart, and do we care to parse them apart? Which at a policy level, if we're paying for it as a public, I imagine we would want to parse those out. At a private level, if it's privately paid, I imagine we wouldn't care that much.
What is the answer to that, by the way? I don't know. I don't know what the correct answer is. So if you give somebody a treatment that shouldn't work, but it's like effectively working as a placebo, like, do you continue to give that person that treatment? Is that ethical?
Right. I mean, that was my original question, is like, how do we know what these comorbidities, if somebody has high levels of anxiety and like just body dysmorphia, because it's like a girl who really hates her body, she goes on HRT, she's getting T, so she feels fucking great. And so she reports that she likes her body after. The issue with the flexibility of the brain is like, probably at some point she would just like her body more because she feels more happy because she's taking T.
And then the like, social factor too of like, if she wants to be a woman and she feels like it and now she's identifying it as people are saying it, and now she's got like a whole new group of people she identifies with, and she's like, that could theoretically, I mean, if you can get like a normal middle class like brown Muslim in fucking Europe to join ISIS, I don't see why you couldn't recruit like a teenager to feel like, oh, like I'm trans now and actually this does make my life feel a lot better. You know, that's possible.
Yeah, like totally discounting the social contagion theory basically requires that you argue that teens are like vulnerable to social influence in pretty much every area of life, but for some reason like not for this one exception. And I think that's another big problem, is that if you have someone who's taking T, they feel pretty good, they're in this honeymoon phase perhaps of transition, and they're posting pictures and like they're posting T voice updates and they're flexing their muscles. People are seeing that on social media, and they're seeing like the best examples of that, of the people who are really doing good, and then that later encourages more people to pursue it. And so like, even if you have like a beneficial effect or like a null effect, like let's say that like no one actually is hurt mentally by this. I don't know if that's true, probably not. There's probably going to be some people who are hurt, but even if no one is, just the fact that people might pursue this because they see other people having good results might lead a lot of people to be medicalized when they otherwise don't need to be, right? Where they'd be fine either way. And that's also not a good result. So like, I think that when we talk about, well, there's probably no indication of like an actual negative effect, I do think that like unnecessarily medicalizing people probably is something we want to avoid.
Probably, yes. Especially specifically if there's like burden on care of like long term. So like the biggest issue with puberty blockers is that like right now, from what we can see, it doesn't seem to be a huge detriment on like health. The issue is we haven't really been able to watch it for like 40 years, and specifically the age range, right? Even the SOC 8 is very explicit that we don't really know the long term effects of puberty blockers like plus 10 years. And so like that's the more important question to me, as being like, if we're starting to see really long term like later effects, what do we do about that? And I don't know the answer, because I don't know how to contend it against like trans kids struggling right now. Like this is like the constant conundrum of like.
Well, I mean, there's nothing unique about that. This is true of everything. Like like you would treat this. I don't actually think there's anything difficult here at all. You would treat this just as you do like every other drug, right? Like for instance, well, I can use Alzheimer's drugs as an example, right? Like you'll try Alzheimer's drugs. Some patients are in it, some patients are not. But like you wouldn't say that like, oh my God, like these people with Alzheimer's are suffering, we have to give everybody the trial drugs. You would never say that. I think what they do is in a study, if it does seem to be very clear that a drug is efficacious, they'll switch the people from the placebo group off of it, and then they'll give them the actual drug. But otherwise, you just continue on until like you actually observed a real size. Like there are people suffering right now from a lot of diseases that are being actively researched in the United States, but that doesn't mean we throw all of them on like state mandated or state supported theoretical treatments. We would just never do that in any other case.
Yeah, I mean, that's reasonable. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there is any other case. Because I mean...
I think the closest case I can kind of think of for limited stuff would probably be probably SSRIs. And I don't know if we were 100% sure if that was a good idea either.
Yeah, I mean, all this medicated stuff is like such a big question.
Yeah, well, the mental stuff is really hard. Medicining out the brain, like medicining your brain to fix like psychological problems is very, very, very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That might be, like, I think, Taff, you were saying, like, specifically the language that I was using about, like the fear stuff is, then that, because you're basically pointing out that when I was talking about that might be, like, an issue in, like, the language that I'm using specifically, if I'm understanding you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, like, when you build up the fear, I think it makes people sometimes more vulnerable to these things. Like if you're telling them that the only way they can survive is with this medication, I think it makes them a lot of times less likely to pursue other things that are going to help them. It kind of treats HRT as panacea. Though, to be clear, I think this is not a super big problem for you. It was just like one line that you said that kind of made me feel that way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm just trying to be good faith. Yeah, I mean, fuck. I mean, this is like the issue that I like the trans issue specifically is I have a really big soft spot for like the actual struggles that they experience. And so there's this element of like trying to impress the like lived experience of specifically
No, I don't think so. I think, or I'm not saying I doubt you, but I'm saying that like, I think what we have to say is that like ethics exist in medicine for a very particular reason. And it's to make these types of difficult things like easier to deal with, right? So we don't have to do this on like a case-by-case basis. I think it's okay to have empathy for trans people that are suffering that might not be able to get attention right now. That's fine to have empathy for it. But the ethics exist to guide us to show that we should have empathy for the other side too. That there might be people that are genuinely like desperately seeking these drugs because they've been told that they need them, because they've been told that if they don't go on them, their lives are going to be miserable, because they know that they're trans, because one day they woke up and they felt alien in their own body and then their favorite creator online said they're trans, right? We need to have empathy for those people too. I think it's just harder to have empathy for them because they're used as like either conservative props so often or
well, also to rant about that, it's really frustrating. I think for a lot of people, especially detransitioners and people who have had bad experiences, that the only people who will reach out to them are conservatives. And so like, I know this one person who ended up in this area where she was really talking about detransition a lot. And now she's surrounded by people who, and I don't know if I should be saying she, but they're surrounded by people who like hate them for now being like a gender non-conforming man, because the only people who would listen to them were conservatives. The only people who like didn't think they were like totally transphobic and evil for talking about this were conservatives. And then they find themselves in this really difficult situation where they're with all these people that now just hate them for a different reason. And that is something I deal with too, which is just really, really frustrating. It's feeling like you have no home anywhere in the political spectrum because each person is going to find some reason to think you're like Satan or whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would definitely agree with that. I think like the empathy that is not shown to detransitioners or people like who have concerns, or the kids that, for example, like might be misdiagnosed and then set on like a pretty horrific medical like 10 years because like all of these surgeries are like super invasive, especially if you're doing like any of this genital reassignment. I think it's gross the way that it's treated. I think I get caught up specifically when I think about the way that I hear like conservatives talking about trans people. Just
agree.
like sends off so many flags that, yeah.
It's because the conservatives don't have a seat at this table because they have no compassion for them. Like the conservatives don't care. The problem is that like it should be genuinely a question of like medically, ethically, like what's the best thing to do to help the most amount of people. But for conservatives, it's more a matter of like what fits my political ideology. That's where the conversation starts and stops with them. That's why it always feels bad to entertain ideas that even sound like they're conservative in nature for this. It's because conservatives have zero compassion for trans people. They don't like them or care about them at all. They could give a fuck less.
Right.
But for a lot of conservatives, like you can literally nail them down on this. Like what if there was like evidence showing that these things were producing better outcomes for blah 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 blah, and a lot of conservatives will just tell you, like I've had to tell people, like, oh, I still wouldn't do it. Like I think a man is a man, and I was like, okay, so you don't give a fuck. This like you can masquerade as somebody caring about the outcomes or medical shit, but you don't really, because if the science showed another thing, you just wouldn't trust the study, you wouldn't trust the institution. It'd be the same way that they treat all the coronavirus vaccines. So yeah, it's that I think that's why it hurts so much to even like entertain this side of the conversation. It's because it's almost like ubiquitously inhabited by people with zero compassion for these people.
Yeah, I mean, all of this, like, especially when I was going through the evidence today, one of my biggest frustrations is I'm not super interested in seeing, like, these alt-right, like, pieces of shit walk away being like, yeah, see, trans isn't real. And it's like, nobody's saying that. That's not at all what any of this is saying. In fact, what most of this evidence is weakly suggesting is that HRT helps trans people. Like, that's really what the evidence is showing. The issue is that there's a large gap in the literature about, like, psychological interventions and stuff like that that need to be, like, looked into. Right.
We're just so brilliant and we're so correct. And
yeah,
all those dumb conservatives and progressives who are overstating their case, they're not like us.
True.
Feels good, guys.
It does. Feels real good. Do you disagree? Go ahead.
No, I agree. I just want to circle jerk a little.
Oh, okay. Are you on a transphobic arc right now, or are you being more chill? What's going on with you?
Listen.
You're on a transphobic arc. Okay.
Twitter is just not a good website.
Yeah, true.
I will sometimes have bad takes and then compulsively defend them, and I should probably just
that's the
walk
only way
away.
to do it.
And,
Nah, fuck
and
that.
I could be like, you know what, I phrased that wrong, but like my little brain is like, no, double down. These people are fucking like annoying, and like you could make this argument if you are really bad faith. Like you could actually like get out of this position.
That's not the little brain. That's the big brain speaking.
That's the big brain.
Yeah.
I don't know if she should be taking her advice from you right now. Holy shit.
I've got the best Twitter presence ever. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say, yeah, no, you are.
A
I think
monster on
I'm
Twitter, I know,
sort of
thank
like you in that I can deal with like an enormous amount of online hate. I'm just like, it doesn't bother me that much.
Then farm it.
And so,
Based.
so that's why like the part of my brain is like, yeah, be annoying, but I don't know, not always good, because then you look dumb if you go too far. So issues.
Just keep going.
Okay, what would we do if we found out that if you gave people T, specifically like female to male transitions, even if it wasn't an actual trans issue, if it remedied most of the like major mood disorders that like a lot of these like much more severe, probably mentally, because if they're not trans but they feel like they're trans because they're so mentally unwell, then they're probably severely mentally unwell. What if we find out that T is one of the most effective ways to reduce these mood disorders? Do we transition them anyways?
You don't have to transition somebody.
Here's
Just take it
a
as like a
question.
fucking vitamin or something.
Will
right?
it increase their crime?
A vitamin of T?
Yeah,
That's my
just
question.
put them on like a regimen like you would for whatever. Yeah, and we'd have
Like
to look
a
at other
low
effects
dose
like
T.
crime and shit too. Yeah, but
Well,
why
like,
not?
what if the effect size is more robust than, for example, like anxiety meds? Because anxiety meds work and they are statistically significant and clinically significant, but they're actually not as robust as like we would like them to be, right? A lot of anxiety meds, a lot of people build tolerance and have to be like constantly upped and upped and upped to like maintain the benefits of the mood disorder being treated.
Yeah, thoughts on that, Destiny?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, if it's the best thing, you put it on a mood disorder. That's not unique at all, right? We already prescribe people like antipsychotics for some like cluster B personality disorders and shit. Like,
Well, the issue is if you prescribe them T, then they're also going to have like at least some secondary sexual characteristics that shift and change. They're going to put on more muscle mass. They're going to start growing body hair everywhere.
Everyone should be a man. That's my position. Men are just superior. Sounds like a world I want to live in.
No thoughts? Okay.
Destiny agrees. His silence is agreement.
Base. I mean that's what you would. I mean, if there are like those other side effects, I mean, like, it's hard because you're asking me to conceive of a world where I'm breaking some of my fundamental assumptions about human beings. Like, I would assume that humans can be happy and healthy as like men and women, and not everybody has to become a man. We're not literally in some biblical era where like the rib was taken out and we're trying to put it back in from like Adam and Eve or some shit, right?
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about girls who say, again, we've got a magic one we can test. We go, yeah, you're literally not trans. You're just severely mentally ill. But they believe that they're trans. They believe that they're in the wrong body. They have high levels of body dysmorphia. And if we gave those individuals, so they're like, they're basically people who have fake cancer, but if you give them chemotherapy, all of their health markers will go up. What do we do with these individuals?
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine you'd give them the drugs, right? It just seems,
Well, if it
it's
is
hard
really
to imagine
robust.
that would be like the best way to do it, but I guess if it was, that's what we do, right?
Because the other question is like, if you can do this less invasively or with a lower cost, obviously you would prefer that.
Or like lower dosage or something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So like, if you could get the same effect, but through psychotherapy, and the psychotherapy lasts, you put them through CBT, and that lasts like 3 years, and you have the benefit, and that lasts for much longer than like a lifetime dose of testosterone. That might be preferable. She's thinking.
Yeah.
CBT. Everyone, whenever I say CBT, they always think of cock and ball torture.
What? No.
And I never think of this. I feel like it's the much less obvious interpretation of it. Like, I feel like
I
cognitive
think everybody could do a little
therapy.
good cock and ball torture. I think it would improve a lot of outcomes mentally.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Do you know any unhappy people that have cock and ball torture regularly? Probably not.
No. That's a good point. And I bet if you did like a survey of people who love cock and ball torture and like stand by it,
Bet they're
and you
happier.
ask them like, do you think cock and ball torture improves your life? I bet they would say yes.
Probably.
So kind of makes you think.
And you gotta
Okay.
really commit to that too. It's probably hard to fake.
Yeah, someone's like
Base, did we
strung
solve
up.
things?
Yeah, I
I'm
think
gonna
so.
head out otherwise. Okay.
Yeah, I'm too.
Bye. What?
Okay. Au
Oh.
revoir. I love you. We have some plans. No,
Like you and me, or?
No. I would never make plans with you, Steven. I
fuck
think
you.
me and Erudite and other people are going to do like TwitchCon stuff. That's currently the plan.
Oh, if you want to do anything with me, you have to let me know like in advance. Otherwise, I'm gonna be banging moms.
We gotta get on the schedule. Moms. Okay.
Yeah. But
Oh,
I'll have to.
well, I don't want to.
Because if you guys ask me while we're there, I'm gonna be busy doing shit. There's just no shot. But if you
Yeah.
make a plan ahead of time, I can probably do something. Yeah.
I'm sure she'll plan something. But yeah, I'm just trying to interact more with people, so I think it'll be good.
Why? What changed?
Hi, Steven. I'm touching grass, so yeah.
Why?
Mentally healthy at work. I think I want to be more productive. I want to
I'm
contribute
asking what changed.
more.
What happened? Did you new relationship or a new drug or new what?
Oh no, I just started therapy. Yeah,
Oh, okay. There you go.
yeah,
Cool.
and that's been good. So I feel like 2023 era of the mentally healthy path, who's going to have lots of based and well-reasoned opinions, and lots of people are going to still dislike them, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's a little
So, yeah.
cringe, but
Bye, Steven.
okay. Bye. Am I gonna lose fucking mission 1? Do I have walls? Oh my god, I do. I didn't even know I did. Fuck. Fuck. I should have been using these. I had no idea I had walls. I'm so stupid. No, I'm not. I'm a god, dude. I'm such a god. It didn't even matter. I thought you beat this game. No, I have to re-roll because I needed new tech. I just fucked everything up. Did you say earlier some Vosh to watch? Yeah, but it was really fucking boring apparently. Who is this guy?
Is going. This person is going out of his way to publicly attack Islam. His real name is Stephen Kenneth Monald II. He used to have a platform on Twitch until he got kicked off the platform. These are the disgusting things this person has said about Islam. He said our Prophet Rasulullah SAW was effing 9-year-olds. And he said this about Aisha radiallahu anha. He said this about her. The Muslims tried to correct him on why he was wrong, which they genuinely did. He stood by his claim, and he has no respect for Islam. It is an obligation for us Muslims to hold people like him accountable. I'm sad that Amazon would associate themselves with this man and his disgusting statements about Islam. Amazon has hundreds of thousands of Muslim employees associated with this individual and his disgusting statements about Islam and our Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even YouTube should hold him accountable as well. A person like him who spews bigotry about a religion that he knows nothing about shouldn't have a social media platform.
Wow. Who is this? Like a big streamer or a big TikToker? This guy's not even that big. Why the fuck are you guys? How us Muslim guys are like in our group only, in our guys only group chat?
Do you or do you not feel bonita?
I feel bonita.
Wonderful, because you look bonita. Do you or
فأين الأبات وأين الأسود هلم حماة المكارم خفافا ثقالا ورد المظالم هو الكفر يرغو ويزبد جاث فأين الأبات.
What? That's kind of creepy, but okay.
I sold my soul. I sold my soul to...
He sold a piece of his soul for you.
How did he sell a piece of his soul to me when I'm the one that signed it? You just said if you sign any contract. That's literally what you just said.
But you gave your lawnmower man the job, correct?
But you say, okay, yeah.
If you gave your lawn man more the job and he has to be there pronto weekly to cut your lawn, he's signing a piece of his soul to do a job for you. That's what I'm saying. So
that's not him selling his soul. That's him giving his services.
That's the same shit. It's
not.
It requires your soul to move, right?
You are an entertainer, low tier god. You entertain people, and the way you entertain people is sometimes you'll cuss. You get your point across by cussing, by saying things that are not PG-13. That's how you get your point across. You said it yourself. You like to entertain your audience. Now, if someone gives you a $10 million contract and you cut off one of the main sources to entertaining your audience just for that bag, that is selling your soul. You want to entertain your audience until you get a bag.
It's agreeing. It's agreeing to a certain aspect. It's the same way John Morant can't carry guns and be on Instagram Live. That's not selling your soul. There's just some things you can and cannot do for a certain amount of money.
Okay, but John Morant doesn't need to carry a gun. John Morant has a $200 million contract. He can hire security. The NBA gives him security. He has team security. He doesn't need to be doing that. He does not need to be putting himself in positions like that.
But you literally just said the same thing. So it's the same thing. If John Morant can't carry a gun, but he should still get paid, then I should still get that contract and still not be able to cuss and still be myself. But that's the same shit.
No, it's not. That's you selling your soul.
What?
So John Morant not being able to carry a gun at will.
Literally doing, okay, let's say, okay, is there anything that you're morally against that you will never promote?
Depends. This is 2023. That's a tricky question.
So how do you feel about gambling?
I'm not against it, but it's not something I would fuck with.
Okay, so you don't fuck with it. Now, stake, hit your line.
Yeah.
$50 million contract, 3 years. You have to stream at the end of every stream 2 hours of you gambling, and you have to advertise it to your subscriber base. You doing it for $50 million for 3 years?
Yeah, because I'm not against gambling. It's just something I don't find fun. So who knows? Maybe me, getting some stake paper. Maybe I might fucking like it. It's virtual money. I'm not against it. It's just something I don't find entertaining. Not a lot of shit fascinates me. So I'm definitely going to take that bag. Absolutely. I mean, life is based on two things, time and revenue. So the people that have the best lives on earth, they're all rich. The people that have the shittiest times on earth, that worry about money 24/7, that live in simulation, they're not rich.
But do you know how many people that have money and aren't happy in life?
That's because they believe in smoke and mirrors. See, when you're rich, and you believe in smoke and mirrors, like if you're rich right now, you could just DM any bitch right now and get it to your house right now as Gideon, and you believe those bitches authentically fuck with you, you're believing in smoke and mirrors. Any friends you have right now in your circle that are lit content creators, and you believe they're actually your friends, that's smoke and mirrors.
Why do you say that?
Because it's by association. You're right now, everybody in your life that you met past Gideon is smoke and mirrors. Anybody you met before, those are the authentic people.
Damn.
Everybody's gonna want to fuck with you when you're lit. When I had that World Star hip hop video that everybody seen, there was chicks that came in like, oh my God, I see you on World Star. Like, can we link up? Like, that's just how the world is. It's smoke and mirrors. Once you reach a certain level of popularity and fame and people start fucking with you by association, it's smoke and mirrors. That's why people get fucking depressed. You ever see a rich motherfucker mad and depressed? Because he thought bitches liked him. He thought his friends were real. And he thought everybody around him was solid. That's smoke and mirrors. That's why people with money get depressed, because they believe that their reality is authentic when it actually is not.
So what about people that don't have money?
Damn.
I mean, they have a more real reality than us. It's just that simple. Like, put it like this. When people see me in public and they say, oh, low tier God. But that's only because of what I did. If not, I'd just be some random 6'5" black man that people just pass.
Is he really 6'5"?
It's because I did something of importance and got lucky and randomly became an important person. Everything when you're rich, and your life is a lot different than mine. You're rich. I'm not rich yet. Your life is smoke and mirrors. Everybody you met after you became Gideon, the lit nigga with millions of subs, smoke and mirrors. So if you get depressed, that would be 100% on you for believing your reality is real.
But
imagine believing your reality is real,
guys. Why can't I just get
guys?
depressed because of other things? You're acting like the only things you can get depressed about is because bitches don't love you because of your money, that you only have your friends because of your money. But there's so many other things to be sad about. There's so many other things that might not be going your way in life that is hurting you, where all those other things could be solid. You feel me?
What? Give me an example.
A family member passes away. Fucking, maybe your business crashes. You were trying to build your business and things don't go the right way. Like, I can't go up here and describe every single
How
type
tall
of
am I? I'm
depression.
only
But
6'2".
fucking a
I
couple
didn't know he
months
was
ago, I
6'5". That guy would
depressed as
tower
fuck.
over
Even
me.
though I was getting 5 million views a video, I was still sad. I was sad, bro.
Why? But why?
Because I didn't feel fulfilled. I just didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't like the content that I was putting out. I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't feel like I was moving the right way. So that's why I took a break. I had to regroup. I was like, you know what? When I come back, I want to do it the right way. You feel me? Like,
Yeah,
bro,
it's called being satisfactory. That's what happens when your brain is in satisfactory mode. Even when I got to a point, right? So I would say the most lit years of my whole doing this shit was 2020 to just up until I lost my channel. That's when I was just like, you know, getting lots of money and shit. I'm like, you know what? This shit still ain't enough because it's not my accolades. Like, I didn't do YouTube to get popular. Like, the shit just happened. This shit just happened. This is not my dreams. So the fact that you started feeling depressed, it was unsatisfactory. Because maybe there's something more for you to do. Like, maybe you should be a fucking actor.
Damn.
I feel like
maybe your entertainment bug is probably deeper.
It's just like this. It's like what J. Cole said. You gotta love yours. There's always, you know, I have my house now. There's always gonna be a bigger crib than the one I have. There's always gonna be a badder girl that's out there. There's always gonna be someone with nicer clothes, this and that. But the fact of if you love what you have, then you win. It doesn't matter if you're broke or poor. Have you ever heard the story of the fisherman that was fishing and then a businessman came up to him? And this was the best fisherman in the village. And the businessman was like, bro, we need to get you, we need to get an LLC so you can get your business and get a store started. And the guy was like, why? And then the businessman was like, so that way you can franchise, get it everywhere, and then you can make a whole corporation and be one of the top dogs. And he was like, why? So that way you can make billions of dollars, and then one day you can sell all your shares, and then you could just relax
and have a happy wife. And he said, oh, well, I'm already doing that.
The fisherman was like, that's what I'm doing right now.
True.
So even though the fisherman didn't have all the billions of dollars and all this and that, he was doing what he loved. When people do what they love, sometimes it doesn't matter about the money. Like, there's teachers out there that like, bro, teachers should be getting paid way more, but they're not, and they're struggling to make ends meet. But them helping kids, helping them in their future, giving them advice and stuff like that is more fulfilling. You feel me? That's why I don't know if you believe in the Bible, but Jesus would literally tell people with fortune to leave all their stuff behind because it would be more fulfilling to follow him to keep your possessions. What is a man that has everything in the world, but he sold his soul in the process? You feel me? So you saying that, you know, it's money. If you're broke, then you get it, then you'll be good if you have the real ones. But then if you have the money, but you don't have the real ones, then you'll be poor. It's not about that. It's about loving what you have at the end of the day.
I mean, that's just being ungrateful at the end of the day. If you reach a status where the top 1% of society cannot reach and you still find yourself in a sad place, then it's got to be something psychologically wrong. There's really no reason to be depressed with money. Now, mind you,
that's a materialistic mindset, though. That's a hella materialistic mindset.
When I say money is not about purchasing anything, it's about waking up, knowing everything's good, knowing that you could pay your rent, you could pay your bills, and that nothing. It's not about purchasing materialistic items. That's why if you go on my Instagram, I don't even post much, because money's not having about materialistic items. It's about having a non-simulated lifestyle. The person that goes to work every day, that does the same fucking job every day, they're depressed because your life is in a circular simulation. The only way to technically break that simulation is to make umpteen amounts of money. Because when you make umpteen amounts of money, you can break that mode. You see, your life is like this. It goes everywhere. Why? Because you broke that simulation through revenue. It's not about what you can purchase. It's about buying yourself time. Your time burns slowly and differently than somebody that works at Walmart, because they know tomorrow they have to go to Walmart. So when you say you were depressed months ago, I don't even believe it was depression. I think that it was unsatisfactory. You're not actually depressed. It's unsatisfactory because your brain is thinking like, okay, I've done everything. On top of that, you're young and you're rich. So you did what most 50-year-old people can't do. So your brain is in overdrive to the point where your brain is trying to psych you into thinking it's depression, but ultimately it's your brain being in unsatisfactory mode to where you need something else to do, which is why you said you had to be in a more creative space and take a break. You capped out. Your life is like 100. This is NBA 2K. You got all the fucking badges. Like, what else is left for Gideon to do? You probably could purchase anything you want, go everything you want, probably could fuck all the chicks you want. What else is there left to do for a guy in his 20s that has millions of dollars? That's why you got depressed. It was unsatisfactory. There's nothing left to do as a human being. Is there anything left you want to do? I watched some of your content.
There's so much I want to do. I haven't even scratched the surface yet. Bro, if there was nothing left for me to do, then I would just want to die. Now, if I died right now, would I be satisfied? Yes, I would. I would be satisfied. But there's so much more that I want to do, and that's why I keep on moving forward. Bro, that's why I feel like that's the thing. It's like you see Kevin Hart and people like that. I mean, I used to think this all the time. Why the fuck is Kevin Hart worth $200 million, but this nigga's still doing 15 movies a year, 30 commercials, going on tour, this and that? It's more than money, bro. They love what they do. It's about loving the craft. There's this dude on TikTok. He's like a 40-year-old dude, and he works at McDonald's. But he literally says in his videos he loves his job. Like, he loves it. And, bro, who the fuck are we to be like, nah, that nigga's depressed. He's just coping. Fuck no. He loves what he does. The fact is, you just have to love whatever you do. And the sad thing is, not everybody can find what they love to do. So there might be a person working at a Walmart where it's like, fuck, I hate my life. Then you might have another person who's like, damn, I love my life. That's all it is you just have to love what you do.
Not loving what you do, I mean, you're not supposed to do it in the first fucking place. See, me, I made the mistake of telling people that I used to work this shit job, right? Goodwill. I was still trying to do YouTube, but I was fucking working at Goodwill. Everybody in the fucking customers, everybody be like, why the fuck do you work here? You're better than this and that. Why do you work here? I'm cleaning toilets at the end of the night. But I was unsatisfactory is the word I like to use. And I don't use the word depression because it solves nothing. If I tell you I'm depressed right now, it solves nothing. I still got to wake up and be me tomorrow. I still got to get money. I still got to figure out how to make it in this life. But it was unsatisfactory. That's what I'm saying. Some people are just meant, it's as fucked up as it sounds, some people are just meant to fucking work at Walmart. Because if you accept that reality, then that's you. You're meant to be a 10-year manager at Walmart. There's people that back when I worked at Walmart, if I go in there right now, they're still fucking working there. They're like, oh man.
I feel like this is the problem. I feel like it's people like you, they give out that energy that it's a illness to be average. It's not. But no. But you're giving off
an illness for me.
Okay,
It's
for you.
It's an
But
illness for
you
me.
putting that out there, especially to your viewers and your audience, bro.
Yeah.
Not everybody can be quote unquote special. It just is what it is. But that's the problem. Is when we perpetuate. Oh, yo, you average? Oh, nigga, damn, you work at Walmart? Fuck.
That's not what I'm
damn,
saying.
I couldn't be you. I'm just saying that's how people think. That's how people think. And that's the problem. That's the reason why people are complaining is because other people are looking down on them. You have all these niggas on fucking social media flexing their Rolexes and their yachts and stuff like that. That's why I feel like this day and age is so depressed. Back in the 60s, niggas were...
Okay. You might actually listen to this tomorrow. It seems it's kind of interesting. I think if I typed you out an email with programming, including bridge blocks when you're traveling, a designer and limited equipment access for you, that would be a waste of time. Oh, would that be a waste of time? I understand you like strength, but a lot of good programming fixing. Yeah, sure, Jacko. If you can give me good exercises that let me pick things up or squat with dumbbells, that's really all I need, because I can do everything else while I'm traveling. The problem with programming when I'm not in the problem with programming when I'm traveling is I think it comes down to a discipline thing of like telling the people like, hey, I have to block out like 3 hours and disappear, or probably like 2 hours, because I've got to go to my hotel, I've got to change, I've got to work out, and then I've got to shower and then come back. And I think that's probably the most difficult part. So like when I was in LA last, there was a girl that I was hanging out with, like, and I was at her house the whole time. Like I might be like, okay, like I'm gonna take off for the morning or night for like 2 hours. I'm gonna go walk to a gym, drive to a gym, work out, come back, shower. And it's not that it's undoable. It's just that when I'm traveling, my time is like already so crunched. And then like if I have any free time, I'm probably gonna be hanging out with another person anyway. I mean, I probably could. I'm just lazy, or it's not lazy. It's that I don't get much time to socialize and hang out with other people. So like, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I've got like a nice hotel gym. Like sometimes me and Melina will travel. We got a gym in a hotel and we'll work out. I do that sometimes because it's really easy to do all your upper body shit with dumbbells. Yeah. Lift the girl you're having sex with for workout. Well, I only fuck girls nowadays that weigh under 110 pounds, so I can't use them for any of my lifts. I got them. 100%. If you don't have blocks built in that you can transition when you follow train and don't check box doing right, it's super easy to follow in a spiral. But if you write in stuff like when it's down, it'll probably help you. The big meme is don't let perfection be the enemy of good. No, yeah, you're probably right. Getting any workout is better than none. That's probably true. Quick question, why do you have to travel so much? I'm pretty sure this year has been, I think I said I would only travel this year for big events. I'm pretty sure this year has been the most productive year so far in my life for travel stuff. Like, bar none. I don't even think it's been close. Hold on, I'm trying to see where all I've gone this year. In New York City, Melina wanted to see the Louis C.K. show. That was really good because I got an actual set of professional pictures, so that was fun in January. And Tuesday, oh no, not Tuesday, sorry. February I did Pearl show. I filmed 5 episodes when I was in London. That was really productive. When I went to LA, I filmed 5 No Jumper shows. That was really productive. In March, got some debates lined up. I think I'm traveling to do my Change My Mind event at the end of this month. That should be productive if the last one was. In April, I'm doing a Tim Pool show. That should be good. I'm doing a John Doyle debate at the University of South Carolina. That should be fine. I don't see a problem with that. I'm going to be doing that Austin's event, and I'm going to be doing a podcast with Chris Williamson while I'm there on the 13th. That should be good. Sydney Watson or Milo Yiannopoulos, I'm going to debate at the University of Tennessee. That should be good. That's worth traveling for. In Tennessee, I'm going to debate Clint Russell about Ukraine. I got a little bit baited on that because I think initially it was going to be Dave Smith, but I'll probably do that. That's probably fine. I think some debate organizers might be lying to me. I think if I get switched in the future, I think I'm going to reject the debate. I feel so bad doing it, but I've had quite a few people now. If you've set me up on something and I've ghosted you, it's probably because you did that to me. Some people will email me like, hey, do you want to debate this guy at this time? And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, that sounds great. And then they'll lock me in and they'll say, okay, cool, you're gonna debate him. They'll lock me in, they'll say, okay, this is good, blah, 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 blah. And then after that they'll go, oh, hey, like this guy couldn't make it, so we have this guy instead. And the guy instead will be a guy that's like 1/10 or 1/50th of popularity. And it's like, well, I've already committed. Now I feel like an asshole. Like, fuck me. Like, am I supposed to say sorry? I don't want to do it now. But I think I'm gonna start saying like, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not traveling for that. But I feel like a clout shark for doing it. But I mean, I think I'm the least clout sharky person like at my status. So I think I can afford to clout shark a little bit when it comes to traveling. Especially because like I don't know if I've ever gotten a stipend for traveling. Ever. There have been like very few events in my life where people actually paid me to go. The only payment I usually take is if people cover room and board, travel and board, travel and room, whatever. Then I'll take it, but I don't get paid. Can you say the thing to yeah? You could offer not to travel and do a call-in debate instead. I'm trying to avoid those. For big people, I feel like in person is so much better. That Richard Spencer conversation was really, really, really good. I don't know if it would have been the same. It's just, I'm just locked in a different way when I'm in person and I can see somebody. It's just so much better. It's so much better to have these conversations in person, I think.
Held politically.
Held politically.
Not today, like, what the fuck?
Oh, what the fuck? Dumbass. Yeah, I don't know. I like these real... What about the Cosmic Skeptic talk? I thought about doing Cosmic Skeptic, but if I do that, I'd want to fly to London for it. So I'd have to ask Pearl if she wants to do a few shows. I don't know if I feel like flying back to London right now or if I do it next month. I'm not sure. Have you ever heard of traveling gym platforms? I don't. I'm good. Thank you. Did you talk to Dick Masterson at No Jumper? Yeah, I did a podcast with Dick, me, Vito, and Adam. And Farah got pulled onto it too, although she had no plans to do that one. So I'm pretty sure she says 2 words literally the entire time. She got fucked so hard on that whole No Jumper shit. I feel so bad for her. Has that podcast been released yet? I think there's still... I think there are 3 that haven't been released yet. One is me talking to a couple of anti-porn, like, cult people, which was interesting. Another is talking to 2... They were supposed to be Antifa girls that Adam said he'd found for me to debate, but we ended up agreeing on most stuff, and it was okay. And then there's a 3rd one, which was me, Dick, and Vito, that hasn't been released yet, yeah. Am I still doing the show rate? Yeah, but I think Fresh and Fit keep traveling, so it keeps getting bumped back. So we're trying to settle on a day for it. Are there any new communities you're trying to make inroads into? Yeah, the ex-Muslim community. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know right now. We'll see. I'm just waiting for the next big political thing to pop off. I don't know what that's going to be yet. Oh, I also have an open invite to do that whatever podcast in LA when I go back as well, yeah. Can I join call? What does Kelly want? What do you think about the Van Lathan refusing the Richard Spencer debate and being disappointed with Yor and Adam for not properly confronting Richard? Did they even watch the debate? Oh wait, somebody linked me somebody talking about this. Fuck, where was it on? Oh, I think... Oh shit, who was this guy?
Oh, are you good?
Me?
Yes. I didn't know if you were busy.
Oh, I'm always good. Oh, this. 2 hours. Maybe I'll watch this tomorrow. We might go over this January 6th video too. I hate that every time like a new itty bitty piece of thing comes out, conservatives think it's totally flipped the narrative. So there's like a video of a cop with the fucking bullheaded guy, and they're like, "Oh my god, all of January 6th is fake." Like okay. Okay, I'll be right back. You can talk to my audience if you want. 1 sec. Or no, I can say Be right back.
Okay. Why do you keep asking me to do the voice when you simultaneously hate it? Why do you do this? Also, which voice? I have like 12. The fuck is a chav voice? Do you think I talk like a chav? I mean, I could do, but still. Obama. Okay, you happy now? Jesus fucking Christ. Am I gonna review yesterday's No, I actually had a really good time in that debate. Like, I get that people are criticizing me for shit I didn't say now. But, like, I had a good time. And, like, I spoke to Mindwaves and Zonya after the stream ended. Like, me and Mindwaves don't have an issue either. Like, he can take banter, alright? Like, you people fucking, what's the word? White knighting him is just kind of weird. You think he can't stand up for himself or some shit? I don't know. Why does Abba hate me? Has he said he hates me? Or are you just assuming that? Also, why would you hate some people on the internet that you barely know? That's kind of weird. Why would he be bothered? He probably just thinks you're retarded. Yeah, that was what I was going with. Although, you know, you do realize you can formulate your own opinions. You don't just have to spurg retard, retard, retard over and over again. At least come up with more interesting and unique insults, alright? Sorry, I'm asking too much, I know. Oh, that'd kill yourself in there. Yeah, exactly. Make it a bit spicy. Add some fucking flavor to the insults. Maybe come up with unique and interesting takes. Well, if my takes weren't interesting and unique, you wouldn't have anything to argue against. Would you prefer that I just go on stream and just bootlick Destiny and agree with him on everything? Would you prefer that? What kind of content would that be? We all go on stream and say, "Ah, yes, I agree." Shake hands. And then leave. You are vapid and add nothing. I see that a lot, and it's not just aimed at me. When people are mad, they say, you add nothing. Well, I give a differing point of view, right? Like every fucking body else does on here when they're in a debate and they disagree. That's the fucking point. What exactly? What else could a person do? I don't like what you say, so therefore you add nothing. Weird. You know, it's alright to dislike people without having to try and justify it. I don't like me either. Join the fucking club. You are genuinely an idiot! Exclamation mark. Yeah, exactly, this is what I mean. Very boring mid insults. Come on. Try harder. It's so boring to hear stupid, retard, dumb over and over again. Boring. You are boring. You have dog shit taste in peanut butter. Alright, I don't agree. I will not accept the peanut butter slander, alright? Your eyebrows are uneven. Wait, are my eyebrows uneven? Fuck. That is possible, actually. I bet you forgot to go grocery shopping. Fuck, I did actually. You got me there. I ordered food earlier. I'm a dumb bitch. Ever eat crunchy peanut butter? Yeah, it was crunchy peanut butter. Smooth peanut butter is weird. I don't know. I cannot. Okay, so like I was eating it from a knife because I just put some on toast, but then I ran out of bread, but the knife was already dirty. Like, why would I make another implement dirty if the knife's already dirty? Oh, that's just one more thing I have to wash. Pardon me. Wait, I burped and then forethought came and left.
That's so disgusting.
I'm sorry. That was a mild one. My bad. They can get much. I can project my burps. They can be very loud.
I'm good, thanks.
I mean, I'm just saying it's a skill.
You want to go over your harassment case?
Yeah, so just for the record, I'm not saying that the majority of stuff that was on Reddit was harassment, but what was on Reddit led to harassment. Also,
Okay, can you give me an example of what you're talking about?
There are autists that are going around sharing the same shit how I lied about the allegations I made against my ex.
I don't know about the allegations about your ex. They're both public posts. It's fine to post about it, in my opinion.
I went over it with Destiny a year ago. If people keep posting it, okay, yeah, that's fine. But can you not understand if people are constantly sending me messages, whether it's in chat, on Reddit, I've had tweets, I've had to ban people from places. It's
Okay, what are we
not
doing? What's going on here?
enjoyable. I'm talking to Forethought about how people keep posting about the allegations they made against my ex, even though we went over it on stream a year ago. And it's just like reached peak autism levels because of yesterday.
Wow.
Okay, so you think people shouldn't be allowed to post Henry G. They shouldn't be allowed to post about your twit longer or Henry G's twit longer in the subreddit.
They are posting it over and over and over again to everything. Have you not? Have you?
I've seen it twice.
It has been more than twice.
Okay, so yes, no.
Do you not understand when people keep doing something over and over again to a certain point, it can be a problem? If it was one time, do you think I would be bothered?
Do you? Oh, I'm gonna kill myself. Okay.
No, that was a valid question, Forethought. Do you think
No,
it's
it's
a
not.
problem?
These you were making public allegations. He responded publicly. I think it's totally fine for anyone to post that anywhere they want in the Destiny subreddit, in the Destiny universe.
So you
So
think it's valid to add to every single thread when it has nothing to do with the thread? They just do it because it's me, like over and over again.
there are tons of threads about you that don't have the Henry G stuff in it. This is specifically about you talking about rape.
Okay, but this is I'm telling you, it's happened before.
Yeah,
And it's
I
people
believe you.
bringing
I don't
up
see.
chat, and it's pretty stressful. I have to like deal with that, right?
Just tell me you
It's
want it
like
banned.
it's about trauma.
Just tell me
Why?
you want it banned.
I'm bringing it up as a source of concern, but like if I say like I want people banned, it doesn't really solve the issue.
Okay.
Also, I don't really like just getting people banned. That doesn't fix the issue, right? Like it's more. Okay, so what I wanted to actually say, since I'm here, if people have questions about those allegations I made, I have been writing like a longer length statement. It's kind of stressful for me to do it, but I have
Why would you
additional
do it? That sounds like the
information
little worst idea ever you could possibly do.
because there's more information that came out afterwards and things that happened afterwards and etc. Like the girl that my ex used in his statement publicly called him abusive, broke up with him a few months later. And
Wait,
there's
like
obviously a lot-
abusive how?
I don't want to say exactly what he did to her because I don't know if I'm allowed to. I'd have to ask for her permission.
Well, are you writing
But
an article
she made a
relating to
public
it, or?
tweet. She did make a public tweet.
What did she say in the
I'd have
public
to-
tweet?
I could link you it later, but I don't want to do it on stream. Unless I get her permission to like share stuff. Like a lot of it's really personal. But like I can show you, I don't care. But like I also have a letter from the police. I did make a statement. And they decided to like push it further and they did arrest him. I didn't
Hold on,
really
wait,
wanna take it further. I just wanted to make a
wait,
statement.
hold on. We gotta be clear now. Make a statement to the police about what, and what did they arrest him for? And were there any charges brought forward? Was there a conviction that followed?
No, obviously there wasn't a conviction. No, he was arrested. I actually am not sure why they arrested him over asking him to come in and give a statement.
Okay, wait. So did they arrest him, or did they just go to him, bring him down to jail to get a statement for something, and then release him immediately? Was he ever actually in jail?
They told me it was an arrest and they took him in, yeah.
Was he ever actually in jail?
No, I think they just arrested him. He would have given a statement, and I assume they let him out within the same 24 hours. His ex knows a bit more about it because his mum contacted her and tried to get her to give a statement of his good character and say, you need to tell the police that he's a good guy. And she was like, no, he was abusive to me too.
Gotcha. Okay, just checking. So
yeah.
he was temporarily detained for a statement. That's what happened.
Yeah. But he was arrested. They told me he was arrested.
He was detained for a statement. Is what happened. That's all I'm
They
saying.
said arrested. So
okay, that's fine that they said arrested. But what you just said was, oh well, when I told the police, they went and arrested this fucker for rape, but they couldn't figure out what exactly happened. So eventually they let him go because that's what it sounded like. That's what I heard. I'm pretty sure that's what most people hear you implying.
I didn't say that. That's not what I'm implying. I'm actually surprised that they arrested him instead of just contacting him first to come in for a statement. I'm not too sure why, but they said to me that that was protocol then. But I was like, oh, okay, well, sure. But I have a letter from the Metropolitan Police. If I need to show that too as well, I can do that. There's like a lot of other information that I was too stressed at the time to like deal with. I don't think that people get that. The days after I put out my statement, Wreckful killed himself, so I wasn't exactly in the best like state mentally. Like I was having a pretty rough time. Not only am I trying to deal with what had happened to me, and then dealing with a lot of harassment from the internet, and then one of my friends has just killed himself. So it's just like, cool. That was not great, but yeah. It is.
Yeah, I think the main question that was hard to understand is why make a statement at all? Didn't seem like.
You mean originally?
Yeah.
Or you mean talking about it now?
No, originally.
I was concerned that because he didn't understand what I was trying to tell him privately, that means that he didn't understand in general and that he would repeat his behavior. And since he was abusive to the girlfriend that he was literally with in the statement that he made, I am kind of justified in that he didn't learn from his behavior, right?
Okay, so I don't know if you understand what that sounds like, but it sounds like then you had an argument with him over something, he didn't agree, and since he didn't agree with your argument, you were like, well, I'm gonna Me Too you. That's what it sounds like.
No, it's not the case. So, like, actually the screen cap that he used where I was... Sorry, I'm burping now because I had fizzy drink. So, like, the screen cap that he actually used in his statement was me trying to say that, trying to make him feel better by saying it wasn't rape, because he had proceeded to, like, scream at me a bunch on Discord and then sent me other messages. I was just like, I was trying to placate it, but I really wanted him to understand that what he did was, like, messed up, but he still just wouldn't even accept that much. And so my concern was, if he doesn't get why what he did was bad, he will repeat this behavior, and that was my concern. I feel like that's a lot of reasons why a lot of women say something, right? Because they just don't want other people to get hurt. I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like you had an argument, you weren't happy with how the argument went. I mean, that's like what I'm getting from that. I don't think you've said anything to convince me differently, right?
I had an argument, and I don't like how it went.
Yeah, so it's like, well, fuck you, I'm gonna write a Twitter longer on you now.
No, because
didn't this follow you trying to go to his place and him not letting you in, and then eventually letting you in, and then you guys had a conversation after when you showed up, when he said he didn't want to talk to you anymore?
I spoke to him after that as well, a few times. And when I spoke to him initially, so it's hard to remember which conversations were before and after, because we spoke about all of this before and after. But yeah, I mean, I did go to his place. That's not inherently evil in and of itself. He lied and said I tried to, like, break in, which is ridiculous, and not true. I literally went with a friend who can back up that claim that I did not do that. Like,
so if you knock on the door, he says he doesn't want to talk to you, what happens after that? What was the next thing that happened?
He didn't say that, though. He didn't say he didn't want to talk to me.
What did he say?
He was annoyed that I was there. And then I was stood outside. He called his now ex-girlfriend. Then after he had spoken to her and that she was going to come over, he then invited me in.
So while you were standing out there, were you saying anything to him? Were you shouting at him? Or were you just standing there idly doing nothing?
If there had been any type of violence and something obvious like this, my friend would have literally stepped in. He wouldn't have just, like, stood there out in the corridor, like, if something bad was gonna happen. He would have, like, intervened.
Huh.
And obviously, like, his ex-girlfriend then came, like, 10 minutes later. If anything bad had happened, again, A, he wouldn't have invited me, and B, she would have noticed as well. Like,
well, I don't know why you would or wouldn't have gotten invited.
C, my friend would have intervened.
I don't know what your friend is. Your friend might be somebody who is going to take your back literally no matter what happened, right?
I mean, I'm just saying that they are there.
Yeah, but they might be there just to support your version of events, and that might not be the most reliable.
Okay, so my ex didn't actually know he was there. There is a corridor that's it's like a fire escape directly opposite his apartment. I did say when I was in the apartment, my friend is here, but he didn't know where my friend was in the building, or that he had, like, I guess, vision and hearing of where I was. So, like, he wasn't there particularly just to, like, protect me or anything, but he would have been able to see. But because, like, nothing happened, I didn't need to, like, say my friend was there. Like, it's just, I don't know. That being said, like, me going to his house is pretty relevant in the grand scheme of my fucking statement. Like,
I mean, I think it's pretty relevant. That's a pretty big red flag to me. I think if somebody says they don't want to talk and somebody else shows up at somebody's house, I'm usually assuming something crazy is about to happen. That's usually my assumption. It's a pretty safe assumption.
He never said to not go to his apartment. That wasn't a thing. Or that we can't talk. I wasn't blocked either.
I'm guessing if he's ignoring you, you understand showing up as like an escalate. He wasn't ignoring you? So he was responding to you?
Yeah, I wasn't blocked.
I didn't ask him. No. Hold
on. I wasn't blocked and he wasn't ignoring me. I wasn't
Okay, wait.
blocked
So
and
if he was responding
ignoring
to your messages, why did you show up at his house?
I think I went over this before. It's because he lied and said he wasn't in the country, and
so that sounds like he doesn't want to talk to you in person. So you went to his house. That's what it sounds like.
Well, the reason I can elaborate on why is because the girl in question turned out to be pretty vulnerable for reasons. Again, I don't want to like disclose her like backstory. She got kind of upset about it. And I was concerned about this. So my reason for going there, yeah, was because I wanted to warn her, but I didn't know how to do it that well when he was there. I was like, probably in the end I should have just like messaged her online, but my concern was if I message her online, he's just gonna manipulate the shit out of it. So maybe at least if I do it in person, I can warn her without it being a big thing.
Okay. So based on what you've told me, it sounds like you're going there expecting a conflict. That's why you brought a friend. Was your friend a guy?
There could have been, yeah. In the end, actually, there wasn't any. Like, I think he
Sure,
writes it
but
in his own
it sounds
statement.
like you were literally going to his house to try to like destroy his relationship after he refused to talk to you in person. That's what you're saying to me.
He didn't ever refuse to talk to me in person, and I didn't.
Well, then why did he lie about being out of the country?
Huh?
Why did he lie about being out of the country if he was willing to talk to you in person?
He lied to me a lot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he had explicitly told me we cannot talk in one way or another.
Does he have to say we explicitly cannot talk for him to be pretty obviously not wanting to talk to you?
I'm just saying I didn't disregard some explicit, like...
I didn't ask if there was an explicit thing. I was saying isn't implicitly. Probably...
Okay, so maybe he didn't want to talk to me, but that doesn't mean that I did anything wrong.
Well, I'm not saying you did anything wrong. I'm just saying it seems like you went over to the house looking to end his relationship because he wasn't responding to you in the way you wanted him to.
Okay, so I want to put into perspective, I was not doing that well. I'd obviously been through something that I was finding difficult to process. I had not processed it as rape. That's why I did not call it rape in my statement either. I was not in my best mental state. I can obviously attest to that. And I was
these
just
are all
concerned about...
really good explaining factors for why you would go over to his house to try to end his relationship. That's what it sounds like what happened.
It's not fair to say I went to end his relationship. I just did, but I did want to warn the girl. Yeah, if that makes me a bad person, then okay. But
I didn't say it makes. I'm not talking about who's bad or good. I'm just saying that you went to his house to try to end the relationship.
Well, I didn't end it. They stayed together.
I didn't
for like
ask
4
if you
months.
did or didn't. I'm saying you went to the house to do it. You knew there was going to be
Okay.
conflict, so you brought a friend. You were trying to warn his current girlfriend away from him because of whatever reason, and then that seems to be what that was the scheduled activities for the evening.
I think it's kind of unfair to say I just wanted to break them up when I wanted to warn her.
That's the same thing, right?
No, it's not the same thing.
What do you
And
think is
if
going
I
to
wanted
happen
to
after
break
you
them
warn
up-
her? Wait, why not just DM? Wait, why not just
because
DM her then? Why not just send her a
wanting
message?
well, I said in hindsight, maybe I should have tried that, but my concern was I felt like he would manipulate it.
So this guy.
Also, there's no.
So this
genuine,
guy
like,
is so abusive that you can't even trust her to receive a message on her private messaging platforms, but you think that you're going to be able to tell her about this level of abuse and she's going to stay?
But she did stay, and then she dumped him for being abusive.
That you're skipping ahead. I'm just trying to establish it. You were going there to end the relationship. You probably figured there's going to be a fight, and that's why you brought probably a big male friend with you, I'm guessing. That's what it sounds like.
Again, I didn't go with the intention to end the relationship. I went with the intention to warn her.
Okay. Most people aren't going to see a difference between those two things.
I understand if most people don't see it that way, but my intention was that.
Okay.
And it's obviously I don't like my intention being misrepresented. Like, it's already bad enough that people assume the worst of me in every possible scenario, that it sucks. But a lot of time has been spent ruminating on me going to his house versus the fact that he told a bunch of lies about having assaulted me. So yeah, I kind of feel like that's kind of worse, but hey, I don't know.
Are you saying that he lied then in his response statement to you?
Yeah, he said I initiated sex. That never happened. He doesn't have proof of it, and I have a lot of messages where he's complaining that I never initiate sex with him. So
Do you
the
have any
fact that I
messages in
would've-
relation to that particular evening, or?
I have the messages from directly after, which was in my tweet, like hours after, where I said that I didn't want to have sex now. I wanted to wait. You ignored me, and now I'm sore and it hurts. It wasn't my period, which is indicating I was bleeding. Does that sound like someone that was like initiating sex?
No.
He did not argue with that,
Did you ever,
by the way.
Did you ever post
He
those
didn't
messages?
argue. Yeah, I did. It was literally the message that was in my tweet, my initial tweet with my statement. I can show you it if you want.
Yeah, somebody linked that.
He never argued against that, by the way, and he apologized. But apparently that just got like thrown out the fucking window because, oh, here's a screen cap of Kelly saying that she didn't think it was rape, removing all context to the rest of the conversation. It's like, why are we having a conversation where Kelly sounds like she's talking about rape? I was like, weird. Oh, they've just linked to Henry's thing. They haven't linked to my tweet. I can find it if you need. Do you want me to find it?
If you can, yeah. I'm typing in chat. I'm just
Alright,
waiting for
2
somebody to like it.
seconds.
I also felt grumpy because I didn't sleep straight away due to being too high, and I was so sore because even though I asked to have sex later when it wore off, you ignored me, and it hurt. I asked to have sex later when it wore off. Oh, as in not now.
Oh, ward off means I was too high because
No, I know what it means.
Yeah, but he also knew that I had had too much weed, so that kind of upset me as well. It's like he knew I couldn't consent because I was too high and the room was fucking spinning, and I was literally also saying no as well. And then he ignored it.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying it was like violent rape, but I am saying that I have vaginismus now and it fucking sucks. And I feel pretty bitter about it, especially when people say I'm lying. So yay.
Gotcha. Well, is Forethought still here? Do you want to fight?
Yo, what?
Did you want to fight her over it, or?
I don't think Forethought really had any context to this, so I'm not like mad at him.
Oh, I don't care. I'm not litigating people's interpersonal drama.
I get that.
Any other subreddit issues you want to bring up? Any other harassment?
I mean, I didn't really want to talk about this, but people should, like, if you want to make some threads, it's alright, but, like, fucking reduce the amount of spurging. Jesus fucking Christ, it's, like, getting out of hand.
You okay?
What is your experience with online spaces? I'm curious.
Uh-oh.
What are you getting at?
This...
If you're gonna give me a criticism for thoughts, spell it out.
Oh my god. This is like the kid gloves of the internet. I can't fathom being upset about the subreddit right now. Especially right now.
I am not upset about the subreddit. They've been criticizing me for I don't know how fucking long. Regular criticism is fine. And getting called a dumb bitch, retard, whatever, over and over again is also whatever. But if people keep bringing out fucking trauma shit, it is a bit depressing. Especially when they're doing it specifically just to upset me. It's like, yeah, no shit, that upsets me. Fucking hell, who wouldn't be upset by that?
Yeah, sure. I can add that to the auto mod. I can remove the links and they can't bring it up on the subreddit. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, again, if people have genuine questions about those allegations, then by all means ask me questions, but just spurging that I am a liar is just tedious, and like, what am I going to do with that? It's like I didn't have a video recorder strapped to my head. I can't prove anything. That's the best I can do.
Okay, gotcha. Anything else?
Jesus.
No, you're good. I'm not...
What?
I don't really like having to like have people banned or feel like that way about it. It's not fun. It's just I want people to understand where I'm coming from, and if they genuinely have questions, by all means ask me questions, even if they're hard questions. And then like if you want more context, if you want more information, then let me know. But just don't.
I think it's reasonable to have certain things banned. I don't think there's anything unreasonable about that. I think it's reasonable. It's reasonable to have some things banned. There's nothing unreasonable about that. There have been a...
Your mic is cutting out.
My mic is cutting out? It's reasonable to have some things banned. There's nothing unreasonable about that. That's what I was saying.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the people that were doing it probably just... I don't know. They probably don't need to be banned permanently, right? Maybe they just need to be told, stop it. I don't know. I feel bad then.
Fuck them.
I don't like banning people. I like arguing with people, but I can't really argue with you're a liar because you lied about rape. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? It's not like what? I'm kind of stuck.
Okay.
Okay. Do you feel okay? Wow.
So how's it going?
Well, I'm going okay. Just replaying this stupid fucking game because I died, so.
Your mic is cutting out. What the hell?
I feel fine just playing this dumbass fucking game because my last save got fucked and I couldn't win, so here I am. You know.
Shit. By the way.
Uh-oh.
What would I tell? What would? Let me try that again. What would you think if I said that Joe actually thought I was right in that argument yesterday? Would you just call her a retard as well?
No, I'd probably have to talk to Joe about it.
Okay. Do you not believe me?
Believe you about what?
You don't believe me when I said that?
No, I believe Joe probably said something along the lines of like, you know, I think there was probably a decent point that you were making in there that didn't get expressed properly, that I think I would agree with. She probably said something like that, is my guess.
Hey, I just wanted to say that I thought you and Kate did really well on that panel last night. I thought you were making a really good point, even if they were not being acknowledged just so. I see that you're getting a lot of pushback. I think it's totally unwarranted, and I just wanted to let you know I'm 100% in your corner.
Cute.
Now what do you think? Actually, no, but like, could we all like have a little debate about it sometime? That'd be fun.
Debate about what?
I don't know.
You don't know what you want to have a Oh, that topic? I feel like we've exhausted the fuck out of that topic at this point, no?
To be fair, well, no, I get what you mean with that, but we could do like tangentially related topics. I would be like interested to talk to Joe again though.
I mean, Joe... Then ask Joe to talk. What am I...
I did, but she said that she wasn't sure about engaging in related topics because she didn't think she would get very far with it. But maybe you could convince her.
I don't know. It's up to her. I'm not gonna bully her into the conversation if she doesn't want to have it.
I'll bully her. Just be like, yeah.
Well, I think she knows that she always has like a place to like chat on my platform if she wants to. But if she feels like she doesn't want to have that conversation, then.
Okay. Fair enough.
But I think me and Joe literally had a conversation about this when it all popped off a while ago. I think we talked quite a bit about this, like last year.
Yeah, somebody actually linked me a YouTube video. I haven't watched all of it, but I will do that. But I mean, people's views and opinions can obviously change
I don't think our views have
over
changed.
time. Sorry, I was muting myself while I was burping.
Okay.
Sorry. But I mean, people's, evolve time. That doesn't mean that she doesn't believe the things that she said last year or whatever as well. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
Huh. Wow.
But yeah, again, I have mental illness. I need more peanut butter as well. Okay, bye.
Be careful. Wow. Just what a wild ride, guys. Colony population of 600? Did I really get 600 on this shit-ass fucking map? Do you not get more research points if you like 100% a mission without like ever losing? Or is it only like fucking victory points? For which, who the fuck cares? So I'm not even gonna have more research points. I just need to like direct my research better. That's basically what's gonna happen, huh? It's just the victory points? Oh, fuck me. Did I restart the campaign? Yeah, I think I was bricked based on my research choices. Focusing on this one research-wise, I guess I have to get to the Tesla tower things, right? Shock towers, yeah. Are they like... Do I need like oil or some shit to build that? Or is it just like stone? Or I don't even know what the fuck the resources are. Iron, I guess? Jesus. 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 2 hours.
We're broke as
watch
fuck,
some of these while I
but
finish
they would
this.
still be happy because in their neighborhood, it's just like, hey, we all broke. We just got to make it how we live. You know what I mean? They'll have a cookout in the backyard. And the only thing they would see is like the TV shows. But the TV show they watch, it was the same people. There'll be people just in like middle class houses and stuff like that. But now, society, you have to show everything big. You have to have the biggest ass. You have to have the biggest yacht, the biggest Lambo, all this and that. It's always about having the biggest. So that way, in people's mind, it's like, fuck, man, I'm losing in life. But bro, it's okay to be a quote unquote normal person, bro. You just gotta love what you do. Try to find the best avenue. Try to find a job that best suits you. If you don't want to do a job, then if working isn't for you, then maybe you should try to go in a way of being an entrepreneur. But bro, it's like it's like at working at McDonald's. Not everybody can be a manager. You know, you need your fry cook. You need your janitor. You need your supervisor. You know, there's always a hierarchy. Even in the kingdom of heaven, it talks about there's a hierarchy in the kingdom of heaven. A lot of people are like, oh, everybody's equal in the kingdom of heaven. No, it's not like that. Like, bro, if any society, you cannot have everybody being quote unquote equal, like on the same playing field. In heaven, there's literally a hierarchy of people where people are going to be doing different things. That's just how society is. But putting that energy out, damn, if you work at Walmart, you're a loser. That's the shit that's fucking... Okay, I'm not putting that on you, but I'm saying putting that energy out, that's what's wrong with society nowadays.
My thing is, if you complain about the job you got, that means you should do something better. But if you want to strive for more, then that means you can do that. But we're talking about the people that accept. I think that some people literally are just born for nothing. The reason why I say that is because, prime example for me, like I see there's a bunch of people in your stream talking shit, right? These people were spit out of their mom's vagina to be in your chat to troll. You get what I'm saying? There's some people that are just born on Earth as NPCs, non-playing characters. These niggas are in the 2K crowd, fucking ungraphically, but they don't get none of the graphics.
Why
There's
did they
a
go
lot of
past my
motherfuckers born
wall?
like that right now. We need NPCs to have the balance. Put it like this, without NPCs in society, Gideon wouldn't exist. Without NPCs in society, low tier God wouldn't exist. You get what I'm saying? There's certain people that are just born to do better shit because they grasp it. But there's a lot of people that sit and complain and troll and got spit out of their mom's pussy to sit here and troll for a living. That's what you're meant to do. If you're complaining about somebody on the internet getting a bag and you're not doing nothing about it, but you're just in the chat typing, you were spit out of your mom's pussy for nothing. We need, in life, there's got to be a balance. We need people to deliver these Amazon packages. That's what I'm saying. These people that do nothing, okay, go deliver some Amazon packages.
That's what I feel like we're saying the same thing to an extent.
We are, but the way you're saying it is like nice. My shit is more hardcore. You catch my delivery, I think you're catching on. Like the shit that I say is more like, okay. The shit you're saying is like you're petting a dog. Like, okay.
But bro, I mean, I agree. Not everybody can be a YouTuber. If everybody was a YouTuber, society would fall. But like, we're those NPCs too. You're putting like the chat down saying they're NPCs. We're the same. No. But I'm just saying we're the same NPCs because we're the niggas that go to fucking McDonald's and order our fucking Big Mac and shit like that. Like any other NPC that's building the McDonald's corporation. So it's just a cycle. It's like the fucking circle of life.
When I say NPC, you make yourself a non-playing character.
Fuck, man.
By literally doing fucking nothing.
Okay. All right. Tomorrow we'll do more. I think Mel's dad is leaving, so I think I'll be here normal hours. If shit doesn't make me do shit in the morning, we'll see. I love you guys. Rip on. Rip on cappuccino, opportunity. I do the right ass. Labs claim abuse cause she was dogpiled and she did nothing, but if you did step in for her after your fling, wouldn't that actually be abusing sex for preferential treatment? Yeah, probably. Like I said, that's like a lose-lose. There's no winning there, but all right, rip on duders.